And we are back. Couch Company Podcast. I'm John. With me, as always, Tyler.
Hey.
And special guest, again, Jeff.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Is this 3? 4? 4
Three.
times? 4 times.
He was
I don't know.
he was here for the top 25 games. I
Yeah.
think that was the first one. He was also here when we did that card game.
Yeah.
With
So that
the
that
super
was my
fight.
debut.
Yeah, that was the debut.
Okay, so this would be 3 then.
This is
But I think there was
game of the year. Game of the year.
game of the year.
So this is 4,
25. Yeah, okay, so this is 4th time.
which is the theme of the episode.
The hat trick. Plus
For
1.
some reason, I'm
Wow.
more nervous about this one than any of the others, but I'm very excited to be here. I came somewhat prepared.
Yeah.
More prepared than both of us combined.
It's like 3 pages.
But thank you
in
for
front of
having me.
Yeah.
I have a couple pages of notes.
Yeah.
And
More nervous for this than the top 25 games.
yeah, because I'm not a Resident Evil aficionado. I've only played a couple of the games, but we'll get into that later. I'm just super excited to be here, so thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming, man. We're excited as well. And
It's Easter Eve.
Easter Eve, but
Yeah.
when it comes out,
The
Easter
day
Eve.
after.
No, Easter. What is it? After?
Post day of Easter. I don't know.
Yeah.
Buddy,
Anyway.
I just said a hat trick was 4, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
100%.
It's a baker's hat trick.
No, but 4 is definitely the theme of the episode here, as Jeff alluded to. Going to be talking about Resident Evil 4, which, by the way, this is like just kind of some foreshadowing. I thought I remembered like the original game, and then
Yeah.
I played this, and I was like, what the fuck, dude? Did I not play the original game? So, like, we'll talk about it, but
Yeah.
it's like, I did not remember a lot of those things.
I remember exactly where I fell off of the original game. So I got to the point and I'm like, oh yeah. And then from that point on, which is like right when you get to the castle,
Yeah.
it was like I don't remember anything. It
I
was like, all
gotcha.
new. And I'm
You
like,
didn't
okay, cool.
you didn't finish the first
No.
one? Oh, gotcha.
I did not finish the first one either, and I
Really?
think I remember where I fell off as well, and it was like not even close to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like kind of disappointed, but we'll get into that. This is a very different game, and I'm excited to talk
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty interesting. I didn't want to start with this though. So we did.
It's been 2 weeks.
It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah, we missed 2 episodes.
Yeah,
so
we
sorry
missed
about
2
that.
episodes, but I do have rationale behind that. So I was visiting a buddy down in North Carolina. So I went to Raleigh. Have you guys ever been to Raleigh?
No.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
It's actually a pretty cool city. And how I kind of describe it is it's a city for people who don't like cities because it's like not very big and it's very chill, like a very chill atmosphere.
A lot of tall buildings.
There's some tall buildings.
I
but
would
it's like
say
very
no.
spread. Yeah, it's very spread out, right? So it's like if you're intimidating, like driving in a big city like New York or Chicago or something.
Milwaukee's like that too, where it's
Right.
like it's just like big. Like it's not like
Yeah.
necessarily like crazy condensed stuff. Like it's kind of like spread out.
I don't even
right?
think it's that big, like radius wise. Like
just
we were
small.
walking all over, and it was like pretty much the whole thing.
Okay.
Like so,
I don't know if you've ever been to Cleveland. I think it's very Cleveland.
That's a great
very Cleveland.
comparison.
Cleveland's flat. I mean, Ohio's flat, right? Like it's just kind of.
But Cleveland is very small.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can kind of see from one side to the other. That's how I view Raleigh.
Right. Yeah. So Raleigh's very similar. It's a good comparison, and it was a good city. Like I really liked it. The museums are free down there, which is super cool. I didn't know other cities did that. Like you have to pay for them in Pittsburgh. It kind of sucks now. I feel like I'm getting scammed. And the food's really good down there too. But anyways,
What food did you eat?
like barbecue.
Okay.
So I did learn that Carolina barbecue is different than Texas barbecue, obviously. But the key difference is in the barbecue sauce. They use vinegar-based barbecue sauce, and Texas does not. I guess they use like
That's sweeter.
ketchup and stuff. Yeah.
Oh.
So I like the Texas style better. Don't tell the Carolinians that, but it was interesting. I did enjoy the food was really good. But anyways, I was on my way back, and the reason we had to cancel is because it was super windy in Pittsburgh, like 50-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah.
And they couldn't land the plane. First of all, I was freaking out because the turbulence was insane. So I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to die. But it was
man.
probably the worst flight you could possibly have. So it started off great where I got a free upgrade. But then this girl behind me had a dog, right? On the plane who was
Okay.
fucking barking the entire time. So it was terrible.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, it's only like an hour and a half long flight. So it's not going to be that long. But we're in the fucking air for like an extra 2 hours because we're circling Pittsburgh trying to land. This dog's going crazy. It has to like go to the bathroom and stuff.
Sure.
And then the guy in front of me is just a lunatic, and he's like freaking out. He's like, "You gotta let me off this plane." It's like going like actually batshit crazy.
He's actually saying that like while you're in midair.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. He's like giving the flight attendants hell. And I'm in the middle of these two people. It was the actual worst scenario possible.
Did you laugh at any point? You didn't laugh.
I just sat there. I was trying to watch The Incredibles 2. Downloaded The Incredibles 2.
Okay.
Because I watched The Incredibles 1 on the way down.
Okay.
And then I was watching The Incredibles 2 on the way up.
And these are movies you downloaded, or is this just what was on the plane?
What I downloaded.
Yeah. Okay.
I was the perfect length of time,
Sure.
and I love those movies.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen them in a while. So
Okay.
wanted to do that. There was a top 5 I was thinking about when I was watching them. Now I totally blanked because it's been so long.
Top 5 superheroes.
It might be top 5 superheroes.
I think
Definitely
it will.
not.
I don't know why we didn't ever think about that.
What was I thinking? Oh, dude, it was this one scene in the second. You guys remember that movie? Incredibles 2?
Vaguely.
So anyways, Jack the baby like gets his powers in that movie, and he fights this raccoon like in the backyard, and it's one of the greatest fights I've ever seen in my entire life.
Isn't that in the first one at the end?
He
am I making
he
that
gets
up?
his powers at the end of the first one, but he's like, it's like very brief, and
okay.
like the
So
bad
it's,
guy's
like,
holding
extended.
him, and he just like fucks the bad guy up.
Jack's power is fire, is it not?
It's He can light himself on fire. He can like teleport dimensions. He can multiply
Turn
his like
into
laser
like a
beams.
monster.
Yeah.
So what you're telling
He's
me
OP.
is this broken baby
busted. When this
fought a squirrel, was it?
it was a raccoon.
Oh, I'm sorry, a raccoon.
But he's
and it was
like-
one of the greatest fights of all time.
No, it's seriously like, it's insane. It was such a good fight. I was like, why is this fight so good? Why did they spend so much time on this raccoon fight? Anyways, I digress. The flight was terrible. I had to go to DC for the night. That's why we missed the episode. And I learned that I might be one of the most patient people on planet Earth.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't complain once until right now. I held it all in.
Well, that's okay. I mean, this is your outlet. This is
Yeah, dude. I was
about
so
anything.
scared about the guy in front of me, man. He was freaking the fuck out. And you know what's not a good thing to do in a bad situation is freak out. It makes everyone else freak out.
yeah.
So it was bad. Yeah. Like people were crying. It was so bad, dude.
And is it so like this was all turbulence for an extra 2 hours? But was it like a rough ride for 2 hours, and that's people were freaking out that way, or they were just like ready to get off?
No,
the plane?
it was just they were ready to get off because it was supposed to be an hour and a half, and we were on.
like a 3-hour flight. Yeah.
We had to like land in the middle. No, we landed in DC, and they're like, okay, we're gonna refuel and then go back to Pittsburgh, and then we're sitting there in the airport, like waiting to be refueled. Nobody's telling us anything, and then they're like, by the way, we can't fly anymore. We've been flying for too long because they have like certain hours. So then we were waiting there for an hour for them to tell us that.
Sure. Yeah.
And then it's like, figure it out. So we had to go to the desk, wait in the line for a couple more
the desk.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because everyone on the plane has to wait for them to like tell you where you're staying and shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was bad. Not good. I didn't complain though.
I hate flying so much. I would drive. I mean, Wisconsin's a perfect example. Like, I would drive the 10 hours to Wisconsin in a heartbeat versus flying there
No, I love flying.
anywhere. Like,
I will still fly.
I would still drive to Florida.
Even
and
after
fly.
that, I will still fly. So much better.
It'd be like, I don't mind flying. Flying's fun. Like, it's like, oh, yeah, we're in there. Cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's your gate changed. Now run across the airport in 5 minutes or whatever. and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Like, no.
Now you were gonna bring up the Louis C.K. sketch. What were you gonna say? I remember we were talking. about
No,
this
like
a
what
little bit
you
and
said
then-
is kind of like people were, you know Louis C.K.'s phones and flying sketch where it's like he was on some plane and it was like the first plane that ever had Wi-Fi, and then Wi-Fi like goes out within like a half hour of the flight. The guy's like, this is bullshit or whatever, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, like the thing that you didn't even know existed like 24 hours ago, like is suddenly it's like the biggest issue of your life, and people are always complaining that they have to wait a long time and different stuff. He's like, and then what happened? You flew in the sky like a bird. like you got to your destination in like a fraction of the time. Like, oh, you poor thing. Yeah,
That's a
everyone
great
should watch
sketch.
that. It's a very good.
It's so
bit.
funny.
Yeah,
And true.
that might be my favorite bit. I was telling him it's either between that or Bill Cosby's Noah's Ark, which is also classic
yeah.
and really good. Kind of sucks that you know, but those two they're up there.
I've had some bad experiences flying, and I know I've told you guys that I've, somewhere out there in the world, I'm on a tape.
Oh my god!
Do I know this?
You know,
okay, all right.
I didn't know it was going on air, but yeah.
I would also say that somewhere out there, I'm also on an airport cam.
No way, Jeff. What the fuck are you doing, man?
But we don't need to get in there, but it was a scenario.
I think we have to get some
like begging
somewhere in there.
I'm in the back of the plane begging the people in front of me, please let me go, please let me through so I can catch my connecting flight. Please, like begging the people on the plane because I'm on my phone, I see the update, my connecting flight is boarding. Nobody is moving. Everyone, you can't expect them to. But I'm in the back of the plane. I'm trying to shuffle through everyone. I am sprinting, and this is 6'5", 265 pound, in a full suit, dress shoes, laptop, like coming from a business trip, sprinting across. I think it was JFK. I can't remember what airport it was, but it was like I had to sprint the whole. Are we allowed to curse on this podcast?
Yeah.
The whole fucking. Are we? I don't know.
I did it like 10 times. So.
The whole fucking airport. Okay. And I get to the thing, and the girl just looks at me, and she just shakes her head, and I take my laptop bag and I just whip it as hard as I can across the airport. My computer goes flying. All these papers everywhere. Security's called. Like my laptop's flying out. I don't know if it's turning on or not. And it was just a fiasco.
That's a scene. So you didn't make the flight.
I did not make the flight. And they did not hook me up with a place to stay. So I was sleeping in the airport.
Yeah. Oh,
damn, dude. Holy crap.
What's that airline everyone hates? I can't remember what it is. Not Southwest.
Spirit?
No, the other one.
Spirit's where you go to die, right?
Delta, American Airlines. I don't know. Delta.
I think it was
American
Delta.
Airlines were
United?
United. Yeah. It was United.
There you go. Boom.
We had, I think we had Delta for our honeymoon. And we lost a day for our honeymoon. Like we had to wait a day there, but they reimbursed us like significant money for that stuff. So it's like, all right.
Yeah, I flew American, and everyone was like, "Oh, I'm never fucking flying American ever again." I'm like, "Oh, you wanted them to land in the 50-mile-an-hour winds where we would plummet to our deaths?"
Yeah,
okay, that seems.
Well, if it's a safety thing, that's the thing. Like it's like, what are you gonna do?
Everyone was so mad at them, and I'm like, guys, we would have died.
It's called act of God.
Yeah,
he is risen. Yeah. He is throwing wind around like it's going out of style.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's an airbender, bro. Big time. You think airbending is the most powerful? Remember we had that poll?
Yeah, no, I think the earthbending.
Oh, do you really want to bring it to the pools right now?
Dude, I forgot to do the fries, but we could do that.
Continue with your airbending.
I still think
we'll
get
to the fries, but we had a poll like, what's the best bending type? So it's like air, water, earth, and fire.
Did we have that poll?
We did.
Who
was
won?
This many moons ago. I think it was fire.
Yeah.
But here's the question. So Mike's a nerd. Mike Bear.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Bear. I don't know his middle name.
It's his birthday. It was his birthday
really?
Yesterday. Yeah.
That's why they.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Mike. You're a nerd though, because he's like, so do the I guess there's like in between types or fusions or something. I am not a huge Avatar guy. I don't know like the lore. And
Were you guys talking about this on the last? Because he
episode
he
DM'd us and he was like, so like does blood bending count and metal bending? What I don't even know. Are those like upgrades or fusions? Or
I have no clue, but I could see where this is going. Where like air is the branch off point where it can do all this other stuff.
But then that makes Earth the best,
right? Because metal bending's so OP.
Earth is if you can literally terraform.
Yeah.
That's so much more powerful than anything. And I get like if you can like tsunami people with the water and stuff,
water's
maybe
probably,
that's something I'd maybe give that like a second thing.
Sure.
But even water, like Earth just too good. Like I don't know, like
Earth's pretty good.
Yeah, there's you're Magneto, but also with every other mineral and Earth and
I remember we did this thing in high school for the comic book club where every March, like March Madness, we'd have like a superhero bracket.
Okay.
And I remember Magneto beat out Hulk because someone's argument was Hulk has so much iron in his blood that Magneto just absolutely wrecks him from the inside out.
Is that true, though?
I have no idea, but he won because it was hilarious.
I feel like somebody just watched like X3 or 2 or whatever one that was, where he breaks out of prison with that.
Yeah.
Oh, does it do that in the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he like pulls it from somebody. Is it just straight blood? I thought it was something a little bit more. No,
this dude, what's her face, turns into like some like prostitute or something, and like goes in and like knocks a dude out in a stall and then shoots him with like iron or something.
Like an injection.
Yeah, she just has like a syringe and like it's just Sally Fields and she smacks him with some iron and then he goes in to give Magneto dinner and Magneto's like, oh, I feel something sure different, and then just rips all his blood out of his body and then walks on it. I don't know.
I remember that scene.
It was
It's
a
like
weird
disc.
scene. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's badass. I like him. Ian McKellen's sweet, but
So would he be able to do that or not?
I don't naturally like. That's the thing is naturally I don't know.
But the Hulk has way more iron than the
Just because
than
he
the
has
average
more
person.
blood, though.
Right.
So it's like
Right.
okay, but in that
What's the baseline amount of iron someone needs to have before he can start moving it?
right, but just more of it doesn't necessarily make sense because at that point, couldn't he just be like, if Magneto's in a crowd of people, I'm sure a crowd of people have the same amount of
Enough to pull.
iron. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
As
he can
the
one
Hulk.
shot the Earth. Yeah.
Right. So what I'm saying is, if it's a dilution thing, then yeah, the Hulk has technically more iron than an average human, but he also has more blood. So wouldn't the iron be more diluted so Magneto couldn't pull it?
Yeah. We needed you in comic book club.
But do you know what I'm saying?
Everyone was
it just
anti-Hulk.
It just doesn't make sense to me. Like Hulk is, you can't do anything with him.
I think
Maybe
I think if
Superman.
this was possible, we would have already seen more of it.
Probably.
Well, it's just too OP, right? Like, I mean, theoretically, it should be possible. But once you open that door, it's like he never loses. Any
Yeah.
living creature just fucking dies. Right?
Well, yeah, like any alien spaceship and stuff is like, what?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
this metal isn't
Goodbye.
magnetized.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I always tried to get Batman to win, but nobody was having it.
Well, gold isn't magnetic, right? Or it's like super
Does it have to be
low?
magnetic?
Well, I don't know. I'm not a
it's just
big
metal.
comic guy. Well, that's the thing is like
I don't know. I just thought it was
I
metal.
don't think I've ever seen him bend.
I thought he was a
anything.
metal bender. Like, that's literally it.
What are bullets made of? Lead and
Brass.
brass.
Yeah.
Is brass?
The
I don't
casing.
think brass
I think
is
brass
magnetic.
is the casing.
Brass is the casing, and then
Yeah, but what I'm saying is he stops bullets. So like, if he can stop a bullet, I don't think a bullet's magnetic.
no, exactly. Yeah, he
So
can
then maybe
move
it's
any
just
metal.
metal.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's GG.
I take it all back.
Yeah, it's over. Isn't there a ton of metal in the Earth? How strong is he? Can you just flatten the Earth?
That's a great question.
You know what I'm saying, though?
I think,
Yeah.
okay, it's well known that Mike Baer is one of my favorite guests that you guys have on. I think it's time to get him on to answer some of these
The metal bending
hard-hitting questions.
No, he's a big Avatar guy, so he was asking me all these questions. So like, dude, I haven't seen the show in like 10 years, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Just the regular forward things.
I don't want to deviate too much, but so we did go to the casino,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
How'd that go?
I played. Do you guys know Ultimate Texas Hold'em?
Who do you think
did.
showed him that?
Okay, so you showed
Yeah.
him that. Yeah. So I played Ultimate Texas Hold'em.
Yeah.
Do you know what that is, Jeff?
I do.
You do. All right. So I played it for the first time, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna take $200 out. We'll play it. Within maybe 10 minutes, I lose like $80, and it's just like, well, this is
It's a brutal game.
really bad. So
Yeah.
I'm walking around, kind of bummed out with chips in my pocket, and then I'm just like, all right, well, I'm just looking around at all the roulette tables, and I'm like, hey, this did a lot of reds. So I just walked over and put $120 on black, get my money back. I hit that.
Wow.
And then we go play Ultimate Hold'em at the same table with the same dealer,
Yeah.
which is dumb.
They don't have a lot of tables, so
They had a ton.
of Ultimate Texas Hold'em.
Yeah, like
Really?
a ton. Not a lot on the week. So weekdays apparently they only have 2, and the min bet is 5.
Yeah.
The min
You
bet's
guys were doing 10?
Yeah,
You're wild.
yeah. But
Wow.
I walked away with like I was up like $200 when
Yeah.
we left. So I got like $400 when we left. Technically like $420, and then nice. And then we had McDonald's on the way. I did a break. So
That's how you have
so
to
we got
spend the
some
money.
McDonald's
Yeah.
on the way
Yeah.
home. But yeah, it was super fun. But I was doing well. But the way they get you is you're always betting this $5 because in the event that somebody gets a royal flush, the payout was it was up to $580,000.
You were doing that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm not going to be the schmuck that is sitting
it.
at the table that somebody hits, because even if somebody hits, as long as you put money on it, you get $5,000.
No.
I'm not going to be that guy.
No, I
the
agree
thing
with
that
you.
killed me, though, is what I should have been doing. I should have been taking $10, putting it on what they call a trips,
No.
right?
No, you shouldn't have.
I should have, because in that little time span when I went back to the table,
Yeah.
I had 2 straights, a flush, and a full house.
Yeah, no.
That's 7-1
Yeah.
on like all of them. That's straight. I think it's like 6-1
no, it would have been a
payouts.
ton of money. Yeah.
It would have been a ton of money, but alas,
What you are describing to me is exactly why I don't gamble, because the
Yes.
amount of sleep that I would lose over just those small little details.
where it could have been better. Like I was telling Chelsea,
I almost don't want to know.
I got money, and it was like I could have got more. Yeah,
See, I go super hard into the math of the game, and just the percentages on like all the side bets and stuff are so fucking terrible.
yeah,
Because how the casino gets you, right, is the house edge, which is like if things were fair, right,
right.
they would pay you, the house edge would be 0 and they would pay you fairly. So they do these little things, either paying you less or making the rules unfair in their advantage so that they make more money.
Yeah,
The house edge on like those side bets are so insanely high that you're just like, it's so not worth.
I mean, Nate made a good point. Like you're putting $20 down regardless, right?
Right.
So $20 for your ante, $20 for your blind.
Yeah.
And then just to play, you have to put, or no, I'm sorry, 10 for each. And then
Right.
just to play, you have to put $10 down. So
Correct.
automatically, you're in $30.
Yes.
So for $200, like for $200, you got like maybe 6 hands in you.
Yeah.
Like it's not great.
You
Like,
need a big
but it
bankroll.
worked out. Like I came ahead. But leaving, Chelsea and I were talking like, okay, well, like we can't come back here for a while, right?
while.
Like it's
But that $10 increase of AAA video games, too much.
well,
Too much.
Yes.
Too much.
Can't go
dude.
there.
Too much. My
that's
God.
a great pivot. But like it's one
Even
of,
though games are now cheaper
yeah,
than ever before,
that's true.
What do you mean?
adjusted for inflation,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
they are
Cheaper.
numerically cheaper than they were whenever they first came out, whenever they were launching on NES,
Yeah.
Super NES, and they're way more expensive to make.
But do you
minus
factor
the
in
cartridge.
content though?
No.
Right.
Well,
That's the conversation
I think
you have to have.
I think that is the perfect conversation for Resident Evil. But
Yes,
we'll get there.
we will get there. Do you guys like to sometimes just throw that stat out?
What's
well,
that?
if you factor in inflation and then just make something up,
Yes, it makes me
right?
feel way better.
Yeah, because nobody's gonna like attack you on that because they're like, oh shoot, he's talking about inflation. I don't understand that, you know. So like, no matter what it is, you could be like people are like, oh, I don't want to pay $5 for coffee or whatever. Like, yeah, but if you adjust it for inflation, coffee is insanely cheap right now, more so than in the 20s. And they'll just look at you like, oh yeah, it makes sense.
Here's
Actually,
the
no,
thing,
that's a good
though.
point.
You guys are psychos.
What's been driving me absolutely mad, and you might have heard me say this before. I'm sorry, but the price of pepperoni is absolutely driving me bonkers. It is $10 for a half pound of pepperoni. You know how many sandwiches that gets you? Maybe 4.
Wow.
$10 for a half pound of pepperoni.
I did
Yeah,
not
but for
think
4 sandwiches, that's not too bad, right?
These are pepperoni and cheese sandwiches. I'm going.
that's
for
like the
Tyler.
deli pepperoni, or
So you
you're
have to
talking
think-
about the hard
yes.
sticks.
No. I'm talking about literally.
Yeah.
You go to the deli, say, "Can I get a half pound?" of
Yeah.
pepperoni? Can I get a half pound of provolone?
Yeah.
Between the two, you're
Yeah.
paying $19.
Wow.
I know eggs are so Chelsea
Eggs
actually
are
made.
crazy,
Do
yeah.
you guys like deviled eggs?
No.
Do you have some?
Yeah. Chelsea made some.
I mean-
you don't like any?
Nah.
Okay. Well, we
all
got
you.
some double eggs for you.
I'm a man of God.
She
I
made
like-
one with bacon and one with paprika or something. I don't know. Whatever.
You don't know what
No, I do. I couldn't taste that. You can. Well, I'll give them to you before you leave.
Okay.
You guys ever watch Blue's Clues?
No,
I was just thinking of like
it's too old.
Really?
Yeah.
What about
I
you?
love Blue's Clues.
You remember the
dope.
Mr. Salt, Mrs. Pepper,
Yes.
and
Aren't you
little
older than I am?
paprika?
How old are you?
34.
Oh, we're the same age. But you watch Blue's Clues?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was first of all, I was an underdeveloped child. I spent my life digging holes until about 5th or 6th grade. So
Okay, no, that's all right.
Like the
Sorry,
book?
I mean to put you on the spot.
no, like digging holes, like in the ground.
Yeah, like the book.
Yeah,
Hole-
but
like-
Did you ever read that book, Holes?
yes, except this was my form of enjoyment.
Oh, you weren't at a child labor
No,
camp.
I just really enjoy digging holes.
For the
And
longest time, I thought
Why?
Dune and Holes were the same thing.
dunes and holes.
Dune.
Oh,
Dune and
And
Holes are the
Holes
same
were the same
movie.
thing, yeah.
I kind of thought they're probably on the same like level.
Aren't they both? Don't they both have like
Yeah.
worms?
Well, the thing is with my holes, what I really like to do is dig holes are close to trees and their branches, so I could create some type of tunnel system. So
Oh.
I'd dig a hole,
Wow.
connect it to another hole, and then connect it to another hole. And I
Wow.
I can't believe I'm admitting this on air.
That's amazing. Okay.
I hope that my grandchildren, if this is archived in some way, never hear this. But seriously, from like 2nd grade until I would say 5.5 grade.
Now this isn't something you like. You didn't go in the holes.
Oh, how do you think I dug them?
You you made a human-sized hole.
Yes.
Like, did you reinforce it in any way? Or
That's
like,
why you dig near the tree, so the roots
Natural
are the
reinforcement.
natural
man,
reinforcement.
geez, you were
and
okay.
then like I would run the
Next
extension
level.
cord, get the Christmas tree lights out there through the hole, through the tunnel.
What the fuck?
Yes.
This is the most insane thing ever. That's awesome.
I mean, and then in 5.5 grade, I discovered girls, and that became like my thing.
Okay.
But the whole thing didn't really work out.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
well.
it's kind of related if you know in a sense.
When I'm thinking about it back 34 years, maybe.
Yeah. You go hold and then another
Go ahead.
hole. But
Like you're digging yourself.
Yeah, I want to hear where this is going.
No, that's about the extent of it.
No, I really want to hear how the two are connected.
5th grade, is that seems early, right? I'm
No,
like trying to
that's-
think.
that's about right.
Is that about right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of 5th grade. Because like for me, elementary school ended in 6th grade, which is not the norm.
Yeah, 12 years. 12 years old.
No, mine ended
Yeah.
8th.
Whoa, really? You guys were in
Elementary
elementary school till 8th grade?
Well, do you count middle school? You don't do middle school?
My school went K to 8, and then
Wow.
Just
9
high
to
school.
12.
So the 8th graders are the same building as kindergartners.
Yeah.
Wow, I want to see what that bullying looks like.
Oh, it was messed up. And whenever
Yeah. You can't do that.
the craziest part was whenever we were in 5.5 grade, there was like a group. I went to a Catholic school, so there was 13 people in my class. I think 4 girls to, I want to say, what was my math? 8 guys. I can't even remember my own math.
Yeah. You said 13.
It was
It'd be
weird.
9.
But there was like 4 or 5 of us guys who really had a crush on these 8th grade girls.
Yeah.
And we would go to like the Christmas fair or whatever the hell came to our school, and we
Yeah.
would buy ungodly amounts of presents
Yeah.
to try and give to these 8th grade girls. And
Right.
they ate it up. And I remember the lunch ladies were like really grilling these 8th grade girls because they're like, that's messed up. You shouldn't be accepting those gifts from those 5.5 grade boys.
Yeah, but
And
8th grade, man. I mean,
it was awesome.
yeah.
It was awesome.
It was a great year.
And then, I went to a Catholic school, but I grew up I'm not gonna say where, but it was a place where you had one side of the street had these kids, the other side of the street had these kids. Every like 3 or 4 months, this side of the street, my side of the street, Dwayne's side of the street, we grew up together, would play the other side of the street in some hardcore football. And this was not like, oh, tag football or flag football. This was like,
Yeah.
no, you're going to get crushed.
Yeah.
And it was like anywhere from 2nd grade to 10th grade, you're in. So you're just
Jeez.
getting nailed. But
It's
I
just
remember.
like gang sports.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember my quarterback on my side of the streets, his name was TJ. And TJ was like, Jeff, we need to come up with a play. We need a play to defeat the other side of the street. What do you want to call it? God, this is so weird to say out loud. I said, I need you to name it Joni. And because that was the 8th grade girl that I was after.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
every quarter, my quarterback, TJ, would say, Jeff, Joni.
Yep.
He'd call the play, right?
Yeah,
I'd line up on the side, and all it was a Hail Mary. There was no like,
It couldn't be. I'd be offended if it was anything else.
Yeah, but much like you getting with Joni,
God,
there's a chance.
I wonder where Joni is today. Like, oh my God. But this describes my entire childhood.
What if she married Sam
Sam
from the other episode?
from which? From
My childhood.
Yeah, from your landscaper.
The landscape.
Joni and Sam,
Maybe
geez.
Joni and Sam.
I mean,
together.
this was my childhood. I went from digging holes to playing football,
to catching bombs, dude.
catching bombs for an 8th grade
to
girl.
scoring girls. Wow, that's a hell of a life, man.
How did we?
I don't know, but welcome to the Couch Comedy Podcast. That's kind of what
That's
we did.
fantastic. I love that. You have to name the play Joni too. Like it's.
A Hail Mary.
And then you're
everything
talking to her and you're like, yeah, it's kind of named to play after you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of want us to
And then I
game.
get nailed by, Nick midfield.
Nick,
don't even make
huge.
it. He's massive.
Well, yeah, you get these kids who have these like insane growth spurts, and it's like I remember Mike, dude, who this actually ties to Resident Evil because I'll get into it.
Okay.
But Mike was like one of my best friends in elementary school, and he was so fucking tall compared to the rest of us. He just hit his growth spurt, and now I'm like way taller than him because
Yeah.
I saw him at Cheats like a couple years ago. I'm like,
Okay.
which felt good. But anyways,
What the hell, Mike?
he stopped growing. Anyways, this dude was like so tall, and he would wreck everyone. We used to play like pickup hockey at his house, and we're like impressionable children, so we wanted to be like the pros. So we'd fight each other and stuff. And like I remember, for some reason, everyone always wanted to fight me. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, super weird.
And I was playing goalie too. You know how hard it is to like start taking all this shit off, and then you're like trying to fight someone. It's like not easy. And yeah, he killed me though. Yeah, I got wrecked. It was just not good. Didn't have any plays named after any women though.
No, really?
Yeah. Well, so Austin lived in that neighborhood. She was the hottest girl in elementary school. Everyone wanted to get with her.
Her name was Austin.
Yeah.
That's a hot girl name, I think.
That is like, yeah.
So it was
Like,
Austin
yeah.
lived in the neighborhood, and Chelsea did too. And Chelsea was my first girlfriend ever. Yeah.
How old?
4th grade.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was an awesome move. And here's the thing too. Sam, I was talking to Sam, and I was like, dude, I think I'm going to ask Chelsea out. And he's like, yeah, dude, I got you. And he went over for me. She was by the fake rock, like, where you can climb up. And yeah, she said yes.
So wait, he got you.
He got me.
Meaning he asked her out for
Yeah,
you.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what you did in 4th grade. You
I
can't
gue- yeah,
talk
I
to
guess.
girls directly. That's like forbidden.
I don't think I dated until 6th grade.
I don't,
Quote unquote.
I don't think you
dated,
could constitute that as dating.
Well, we actually went out to like a movie and
right.
stuff. So
Yeah. It was not really dating, but it
that's
was, it counts on the score sheet.
2nd grade.
You had a girlfriend in
Second
2nd grade?
grade?
Jesus, this guy's a
Her,
stud.
her brother asked her out for me.
Yeah, yeah.
How old was her brother?
3rd grade.
Okay, so it was like close.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was wild.
You're a legend, dude.
Dude.
You're
Went
absolutely
to a
legend.
pool party, got in the jacuzzi. It was.
What? Second grade?
I
How
might
old are you
say
in
that I
second grade?
peaked
You're
in
like-
2nd grade.
Is that 8? Are you 8 years old in 2nd grade? Oh my gosh.
Oh man. Anyways, these two
Jeez.
girls would watch us play sometimes, right? So that's when everyone wanted
Yeah.
to fight me.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, once I got killed by Mike, Chelsea was like, "Nah, this ain't the guy." Bro. It's
I
like
need
you can't
I need
lose.
an alpha.
Yeah, you can't lose a fight in front of your girlfriend.
Yeah,
Dude,
got the blocker off. You're trying
Dude,
to
I'm
shed
like-
the blocker.
I have exactly. I have all this shit on, and he just rushes me. I'm trying to take my helmet off. It was so fucked
It's
up.
like you may as well be in one of those sumo suits
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
And somebody just knocks you
No,
over. and you
100%.
kinda fall
I had
down.
no movement.
Yeah.
I had my chest protector. I'm trying to. He just, and his arm is like way longer than mine.
Yeah.
I can't get to him.
Yeah.
He was just punching me in the face. It
Yeah,
was,
but
it was bad.
now you can pick a fight with him.
Oh, now I could, but I don't know where Chelsea's at.
You can press charges now. That's kind
Well,
of
it's also another wrinkle in the fold,
Yeah.
but yeah, we need to recreate that scene. Be a little different
see where
these
we get
days.
to whenever you start talking about digging holes. man?
Listen, I don't know how this happened. But
I kinda
now-
wanna dig
But
some
now I
holes.
almost understand it. I'm 4 episodes in.
Yeah.
I now understand how we
go
call it
along for the ride.
the preamble.
Yeah,
Ramble, you know,
cold open.
The preamble ramble?
The preamble
That's
ramble.
fucking
I like
awesome.
it.
I
I like
love
it.
that.
I'm not gonna say I came up with that.
Oh, okay.
Listen to a different podcast
Okay.
that uses that, but it's the warm up.
That's okay.
And the warm up can go anywhere from 5-10 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
Last little tidbit, because this also happened yesterday.
Sure.
I'm very bad at axe throwing.
Oh,
Like,
no.
significantly bad.
You looked good at Kyle's.
Like, yeah, well,
but maybe you're drinking.
when
Yeah,
I'm,
you need
I'm
more.
fine at Kyle's, but then when I get in
When you're
in a room
sober.
with 3 other ladies,
I'm telling you, dude,
they
the performance drop.
destroyed me.
Yeah.
Like it was bad. The fun thing was it was a good hard time or whatever, but like man, Chelsea's work friends are
Emasculating.
brutal. They're
Oh, no.
They're so good at trash talking. It's unreal.
Yeah, no, it's losing to a girl feels so bad. It just really it
Like,
does.
It wasn't even that. It was just the fact that like I know like when my body doesn't do what I know it should be doing, right? Where it's like, hey, when you let go of the axe, don't throw it gay. And this is what so they are her Des and her wife like we're like, hey, don't be gay. Because I'm like flicking my wrist. And I'm
What
like,
does that mean? What is
I can't help.
throwing a game?
You know how like like in movies or whatever, like you'd have like a quote unquote like limp wrist, or you just let it go and you like kind of like break your wrist.
Yeah,
or
you
whatever.
gotta keep it straight.
Yeah, it's just,
Oh,
like, you
I
have to
see.
keep it
I
straight.
get
So
it.
they're making fun of me.
I didn't get it
them
either.
I was not with them.
John and I were looking at each other like, what's
yeah.
happening?
No. So like them being gay, they're making fun of me.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be. But
Yeah.
it's just like so I'm like throwing it, and in my body, I'm just like, all right, keep your freaking wrist straight. It's not hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like it needs to be a 90 degree, and when you throw it, when it's straight, just open your hand.
Mm-hmm.
We were there for an hour and a
Yeah,
half. Could not
brain
do it.
couldn't get
Just
it.
couldn't do it. And I hate that when my body doesn't. It's like no different than like artwork and drawing. And
It's
different
self
things of, like,
versus
I
self.
understand the point. Like I understand everything to do with it, and then when I try to do it and I can't, it's
Frustrating.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dude, yeah, I was like bowling a couple months ago with my one friend who's a girl, and she was killing me.
Yep.
And it feels bad.
Yeah.
Because they know how to
it
trash
feels
talk.
bad?
100%. Well, I hate losing to anyone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not just the ladies. But my ego is so fragile that it hurts even more. You know what I mean? It's like
If Des wasn't
break-
such a good trash talker, I think I would have been fine. But she was
Got
like,
to you.
all right, how about
Got
all
to you.
3 of you versus like, dude, she was just crushing bullseye.
you.
Like every time. Like she was just getting bored, just like, I'm just gonna throw as hard as I can. See
she's
what
just
happens and
smurfing
stuff.
on you, dude.
Yeah.
She's throwing axes and like splintering
It was-
other axes
oh
like,
my God,
right
yeah.
through it.
It was ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, that feels bad.
They were so nice. They were a fun time. But yeah.
Yeah, no, you
got
sound like you had
destroyed.
fun, man. Yeah, 100%.
I legitimately did. Like, I never like leaving the house. That's just like a normal thing. Like, I don't care if it's axe throwing, casino, whatever. I was like, I don't like going places. I like just kind of be my own thing. But I always enjoy myself when I actually leave. But it was a good time. We were at Lumberjacks, I think was the place we went to.
That's right across the bridge,
fun.
right?
Yeah. I call it downtown. Anything outside of my house where there's
Oh.
like buildings is downtown. So it's not. It's not. But it's
That's a wide,
somewhere
wide
there.
area.
Yeah. Downtown. I don't know.
Anyways, speaking of smurfing, did want to talk about something real quick.
Yeah, I didn't
before
know
we-
how we were gonna transition. But
No,
that's a good
I
one.
got you. Before we jump into the big stuff, League of Legends is a huge part of my life, as you well know, and an extension to that, the professional scene also very, very big part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And some sad news this week and concerning news, I would say. First of all, Bjergsen retired, like officially now. I don't know if you know who that is. You definitely don't.
I'm just nodding.
You know
Yeah.
who that is.
I absolutely know who that is.
And
Bjergsen?
yeah, Bjergsen. He's
Bjergsen.
Danish, right?
He is, his full name or his Danish name is Soren.
Soren, yeah.
His last name is Bjergs. I don't know how to pronounce his
Bjerg.
last name. Bjerg.
Yeah.
His League of Legends name is Bjergsen.
Yeah.
He's been in the game for 11 years. He's basically the face of NA.
Yeah.
But 11 years, isn't he like 90 then?
Well, that's the thing.
like
He
30
started
something.
he started when he was 16.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's what I mean, though. But like, if you've been there 11 years, like I know League of Legends hasn't been around like what is that? 18 years now?
League?
Yeah.
No, League's like 12.
old.
12,
Old.
13
I
years.
feel like it's older than 12. Anyway, but like what I'm saying is like, isn't he like by esports standards like old?
Yes.
That I'll let John.
I'll let you
take
keep
it,
going.
But
Sorry,
but yes, he would be considered old, but he's also considered. I don't want to say a staple or an icon. It would kind of, if you're gonna relate it to like the NBA, it's kind of
Like Messi's
like
leaving.
it's like whenever
Yeah.
or like when LeBron retires, it's gonna be a big deal.
I know you said NBA, and then I threw Messi.
Messi.
Yeah, well,
Like Babe Ruth is gone. He
It-
that's a bad
John, I'm gonna
example.
let you finish, and I have my own thoughts.
Yeah.
on it because
Well, no, it's just super. So he's one of my favorite players, and Jeff's exactly right. Like he was like the face of North America League of Legends. League, obviously, there's different regions and stuff. And he got his start here for TSM, which is probably the most popular organization in NA. And TSM stands for Team Solo Mid, right? So like he was like replacing Reggie, who was the owner of TSM, and stepping into the mid lane. So like the whole brand is like based off of him, you know what I mean? So
Right.
he's like probably one of the most popular players, one of my favorites, and him hanging it up is like just a huge deal, especially considering like a couple years ago or a year ago, he like switched to coaching, which was a big deal. But then he came back to playing. But this time he's like, nah, I'm just done like with the game
Did
entirely.
he have a reason, or is he just tired?
Yeah, he's like, I don't have it anymore. Like I don't have the fire. I just done,
Okay.
next chapter. He's talking about he's been doing it for 11 years, right? It's a long, long time, but it hurts. And yeah, it's like really weird because you kind of like grow up with these people. You know what I mean? Like you see him now, he's like a man. And like when I first watched him, he was a kid, like 16, right? Like he looks totally different. He grows up in front of your eyes. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it just kind of hits close to home because you're like, you relate like, oh man, like back when I was watching him in the, Bay Life days on TSM is like, oh, I was in high school or whatever. I was doing X. And then it's like crazy kind of like compare the timeline. But that was the first like big piece of news. And I'll let Jeff, talk about how he feels about that. But the other half of it, which is like the more concerning part, is CLG, which is Counter Logic Gaming, one of the original organizations in the LCS, which is League Championship Series, the North America League.
Okay. So it's just North America.
Just North America is gone. So they sold their spot. And then there's rumors that TSM is going to do the same. I think Dignitas just did. And then 100 Thieves might as well. So like all these orgs are just leaving. So it might be the end of the league, at least in North America. So super concerning news on that front.
And like, why do they give? Like, what's the reason? Like, what's the rationale? They're just like,
The viewership's not where it needs to be profitable. And this is like an extension, just a bigger issue with esports in general. Like little to no organizations in esports are profitable. They're literally just a money sink. There's just not enough revenue in it. And I think they tried to expand too much too quickly. Because like they're paying players millions of dollars. So they were, right? And
millions?
yeah.
you're looking at like the big
The top.
names.
Yeah, but even the minimum salary is a couple hundred G's, right? Like
It is and
significant.
It don't get me wrong, and significant amount of money, especially for people that are dropping out of high school,
Yeah.
or quitting college to
Right.
come play a video game.
But not enough to like, hey, I'm done with this 11 years later. Cool, you don't have a degree. Now what?
I think what we see in that situation is a lot of players, when they realize either an org isn't working out or they're being traded around a lot, some of them go to streaming. Some of them go onto these platforms where they can just log on, 4
Demolish
hours
people.
a day, demolish people, make highlight clips on YouTube, and get paid way more than they could get paid professionally.
That's a good
to
point.
being a professional gamer. To piggyback on what John said, and just going back to Bjergsen retiring, this was I don't even know how to explain why I was so emotional about it. I was actually in the middle of queuing up with a buddy for League of Legends whenever I saw the Twitter announcement. So if anyone wants to go watch the retirement video, I highly recommend it. Even if you're not a League of Legends fan, it just talks a lot about why this kid got into League of Legends, how it affected his life, and why he's stepping away. So if you don't know how to spell Bjergsen, it's BJ as in Jeff, ERGSEN, and that's his Twitter handle. He has an awesome farewell video, and it talks everything about how he was getting bullied in high school. Video games were an escape from him. At 16 years old, the only thing that he thought he was good at was League of Legends. He went professional, and even though he was a professional, he still had no self-confidence. Over the course of 11 years, it completely changed his life. He's stepping away because like Jon said, he doesn't have the passion for it. It feels like he's putting in hours and hours of work to chase a dream that may or may not ever come true. And he's stepping away to be with his family, to make sure that he can be happy with himself away from League of Legends, which I think is so admirable. And
is he married?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't mean absolutely not, but
wow.
This is a guy who, if you're looking at somebody who dedicated himself
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
A thing, it's like the epitome. I just have tremendous respect for the guy. I don't even know why I have tremendous respect for the guy. I think it's the way he carries himself, the way he talks. He's very humble. He's not Double Lift. You might not know who Double Lift is, but he's not this braggadocious dude and talk shit. He's this very calm, like humble, kind soul. And I wished him the best. I responded to his farewell video knowing I would never get a response, but I was like, dude, you have no idea like what you did for me. Like even this farewell video, somebody sharing their life experience with you was so intimate. Like you didn't have to do that. Like you didn't have to tell me like why he's saying goodbye. And he's been inspirational for me like throughout my life, which is crazy. I'm a 34-year-old guy. I'm being inspired by somebody like, 6 years my junior, but he's like somebody who found a love for something, followed that passion, and found a reason to keep on going. And very inspirational. I think if we're looking at the concerns for the league itself, super duper scary. If you've been following Riot, recently they switched League of Legends and LCS timing away from the primetime slot. So they moved from Saturday, Sunday to Thursday, Friday time slot. And they are focusing a lot on Valorant, which a lot of players like. Valorant is taking off, and it doesn't show any signs of slowing down, but a lot of people are worried about the League of Legends scene. I don't think it's going to... I don't want to say I don't think it's going to change that much. I think it's going to change drastically, but I think it's going to fall into the same type of slot that Counter-Strike falls into, the same type of slot that some of these more retro or older games fall into, where there are still tons of teams that love it. There's still teams that play for that prize money, but the players are just not going to be being paid what they're used to being paid. And it's sad to see. I hate that LCS fell to the Thursday, Friday slot. I don't get to catch it as much as I normally would. But the only thing that I can think of is, God damn it, Riot, you better release a phenomenal MMO. Like, that is all I can think about.
Yeah.
That is all that's on my mind.
Does it open the way for other people to play League? Like if like the top of the top are just like, hey, this isn't worth my time. Does it pave the way for other people to get a taste of that, or are they still just not to that level? Do you know what I'm trying to ask? Like,
it's tough because I think this is not unique to NA, but it definitely is impacting North America the most, because like what we see in Europe and Korea and China, which are the other major regions, is that the audience size for those regions are much higher, and they're not having as many problems as NA, because NA historically just is not as good. There's a lot of factors to that, but it's just the case. And, obviously after years and years of North America never being able to compete for a world championship, it's like, interest is going to go down, or, Americans just are interested in other games and things like that. So like, I would be concerned for the game as a whole if like Faker retired. That would be like the death of the game.
Could we?
It's gonna happen
Eventually, yeah.
Can you?
He's
like,
a robot, though. I don't know.
Could you buy? That's gonna sound bad. Could you just buy Koreans?
So there's
Like, is there a rule?
There's an import
you know what I mean?
limit.
Like, pay them to just like, hey, you're gonna play for America.
There's an import limit that you can have on your team. You can only have
Okay.
2 imports. Also, what we see historically, when Koreans come here, they usually don't. They usually start off really well, and then they just nosedive.
And is that just because like we're laxer? Like we have like
Yeah, the culture's not as strict. There's a lot of theories behind it. The ping is not as good here. So if you play in Korea, the ping is insanely low. And then obviously when you're playing on stage, it's a LAN, so it's as low as possible. And then when you play here in solo queue, it's like 60, and that's a huge difference if you're a pro. So the solo queue is way worse. Like people don't take it as seriously. There's a lot more one tricks. It's just a lot of factors that kind of contribute to this being a way worse place to play.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know though. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I was super bummed about it because Bjergsen and Doublelift, who are my 2 favorite players, were on the same team again this year, which was so hype. And it sucks that he retired halfway through the year too, because it's like I really wanted to see if they could make it to Worlds and just have one last shot, because I don't think either of them have ever made it out of groups.
No.
And like that is like what they have been striving for forever. Like they know they're probably not going to win it all, but like to make it out of the groups even to like the final 8 teams is like a huge deal. And
that's worldwide, or is that just
that's worldwide,
yeah,
right?
okay. So it's
NA
like
teams have done it. Like Cloud9 has done it multiple
the
times.
only one that I can think of off the top of my head.
And it's so hype when they do, but yeah, Doublelift and Bjergsen never have, and I don't know. They might never get the chance. So that sucks. But yeah, I think Riot's definitely Valorant's like the.
So it's not even
they're
worth
going.
me downloading League of Legends anymore then. is what I'm if I'm
guess.
reading between the lines.
I guess
like,
so. It's so sad, dude. Like I still contest that League of Legends, in my opinion, of course, is the greatest competitive game ever made. I really, in my heart, believe that. Like I know, and the reason I believe that is like I know, you have your CS:GO, you have fighting games. I'm not going to pretend to argue for one over the other, but that genre, of course, built for competitive.
I mean, look at StarCraft.
And StarCraft, right? Those are the ones I think of immediately. And StarCraft really, in my estimation, kind of put esports on the map. So I'm sure there was stuff before it, but like, I don't know. I just remember StarCraft being like that thing where like...
There's no macro in League, right? Short of you need to know where like the dragons are, or you need to like kind of keep tabs on like the enemy. And I'm not trying to... I don't want to like detract from all the little nuances and things like that, but it seems like with StarCraft, like you're fighting like 2 wars, so to speak, of like you have to have this kind of like macro knowledge of you got to keep the production going,
right?
But then you still have like, if you're actually looking at it, it's like you're controlling like multiple enemies and armies and things like that, and like doing like these little like super micro tweaks of like, oh, I put 3 dudes and they snuck in the back here and like it completely decimated everything.
Yeah.
Like it's just like it seems like there's more like when you're talking competitive, there's more to it. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but there's one where it's like, League is always to me is like very like twitchy and you're always looking at like you can control like your space, but you're always located like here, right? And obviously it's a team game and things, but it's always like you can only truly influence like your space. Where with like StarCraft, it's like it's this entire map of like you have to keep tabs on everything and change around everything. I don't know.
No,
like, I'm not saying
I think it's a
one's
great
better
point.
than the other. It's
so,
just like
so the reason
competitively.
I think League is the greatest competitive game, and it's like grain of salt, obviously, right? It's just my opinion, but I love the fact that it's a team game. First of all, so you need coordination. Like one person can't just win the game. Like you need coordination from the entire team. So that's a preference thing. I also think, similar to StarCraft, the fact that you view the game in the same way as you play it as an audience member, that makes all the difference. And I think that's why something like a CSGO or a first-person shooter, you struggle with that, because if you view the game the same way you play it through a person, you're losing the perspective of the entire rest of the map. Whereas in League, you can see everything that's going on, and it's also how you play the game. So it's just the same view. You're comfortable with that view. So like when you zoom out in like Overwatch and watch all this craziness happening, it's like so overwhelming. Like you can't even follow it, right? But in League, it's like you're used to playing that. So like I just think it's a better watching experience.
You're just losing that fog of war, so it's like you have kind of like a understanding of both sides
exactly.
and how they're playing it.
But also, I love the team element to it, and I love the fact that there's so many different ways you can play the game, like just so many different champions, right? And what I tell people is, it's very similar to why football is my favorite sport, is because you have different roles and players having like different objectives that they're trying to do. Like in football, you have an offensive lineman who's like 300 pounds. Yeah, American football.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
Yeah, you with me, Mr. Messi? You have an offensive line, like a 300-pound man, and then you have like a wide receiver who's like really fast, tall, like totally different body types, builds, totally different roles, but they have to come together and work as a unit to be able to like win the game. I just love that team aspect of it. So
yeah,
I think you see that. Anyways, that's just my rant with that.
I think it was such an interesting comparison, StarCraft to League of Legends. We're looking at a 1v1, typically competition. And when I think of StarCraft, a game that I was never able to even get out of silver, or what the equivalent was, even in 2v2. Like I struggled with that game heavily. We're looking at attack angles. We're looking at assigning hotkeys to this unit, this squadron, like you said, running backdoor, Reapers, attacking the econ line. I think why League of Legends for me also, I'm not going to say the greatest competitive, it's definitely up there, maybe for me, top, 1, 2, 3 slot. I don't know what would overtake it, but I think the team aspect is huge. And the coordination it takes to pull off even just a gank or an invade, or if you're behind, to come back, to find an angle from a gold deficit. It's you never know how you're going to find that. And sometimes it's magical. You're like, oh, we just outscaled them. Like we were able to hold our defense long enough, similar to football, to where we were able to find the Hail Mary play to Joni and we killed their Nexus. The other thing that I really respect about League is there are people that still to this day don't know how to pull off proper combos. And, this is me coming from like a gold at my height platinum, which isn't even, that's slightly above average. Maybe, top 20% of all players are platinum. If you don't know how to Lux combo, you're not one-shotting somebody. And it's not an easy thing to pull off. I just taught somebody who has been playing League of Legends longer than I have. We're saying 8 years. I literally just taught somebody last week how to properly Caitlyn combo, which is an 80 carry. And I was like, you don't know how to Caitlyn combo. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, this is how you Caitlyn combo. And they're like, whoa, like I didn't know you could do that. I'm like, what do you mean you didn't know you could do that? And each, we're looking at hundreds of champions, and they all have these unique aspects to them, that your defensive lineman, your wide receiver, your quarterback, your mid laner who's maybe calling the shots or pulling this invade on the enemy jungler. There's so many things that can happen that where StarCraft is like, I'm scouting, I'm backdooring, I'm doing this. I'm not saying StarCraft is predictable. That is a game that I never even began to understand. But for me, League of Legends is so intimate with your team, and that is why it is so toxic. We've talked about this on previous episodes. The game itself sometimes is not a good place to be. Sometimes you have to mute your entire team outside of pings, because everyone has their own passions and what they think is the right play or the right call. And I don't even know why I don't know why I'm so into it. If you're asking me, is it even worth installing? I think you're doing yourself a disservice not to learn the game. But at the same time, I understand why at this point, it's not an easy game to get into.
They need to, and I was thinking about this the other day, because every time you guys talk about it, it's always if you could change your controls in League of Legends, automatically, I would have it would have been a night and day difference for me. That aside, what I think they need to do is do a classic mode akin to like the World of Warcraft thing of like, hey, remember 12 years ago what League of Legends was? Here you go. Here's the roster. Here's whatever. And they just start this kind of like almost parallel path, to bolster their people or whatever. But it's just like, here you go. And if it's expedited, right? So I don't know. Like I stopped playing League when it was Jinx, when that came out. And I don't know, was she, I don't even know what she was. Like, was she like the first download, like the first new character or something like that?
No.
Or like within the...
She was
early.
Kind of early.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like, if you go all the way back and if it's like, okay, it took a year for a new character to come out, maybe it's only 6 months for a new character or something. But like trim it down, and for new players, that opt into it, and maybe that is something where it's like it can only be new players. And I'm sure there's going to be Smurfs and it might just be a terrible idea. But something that is digestible where it's like, okay, I can wrap my head around these first, I don't know, what is it, 20 guys, 30 guys, 20 guys? Mm-hmm. Like, I can wrap my head around this. I can learn all these guys and then just keep adding on every month, few months, whatever, is some sort of, like, onboarding process because, like, again, I'm good. I understand, like, not good, but, like, I understand the beginning. I understand what I'm supposed to do in the beginning. And then eventually it's like I'm just a poof of smoke, and I'm like, I don't know what happened. I go, okay.
Yeah,
like,
when you play
I don't know,
support
understand
too, it's really tough.
Danger, I don't understand anything.
Because like the sports role is a very interesting part of the game because you're responsible for like vision and stuff, which is like one of the most important elements of like.
But if you
vision.
don't understand it, then
exactly
it's like,
right. Like, how far can I go to get vision? When am I safe? When am I not safe? So like, it's actually, I think that's why you have a lot of challenges with it too. Like if you play AD carry, it's much more mechanical based. Yeah. You're like, I'm going to sit in a lane, just farm, get big, and then at the end of the game, I'm going to win the fight for my team because I do the most damage. Right?
Yeah, but that's also that's like the opposite of like, in terms of what am I trying to say? Like in terms of pressure, that's like.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do it at the end of the game, it's like that's even worse.
You lose the game for your team,
because then it's like you spend 40 minutes to lose it. It's just too much.
No, it's tough, and it's like one of the hardest games to get into. I just think like I gravitate to it so much because like some of the best experiences in gaming, like nothing will get my heart rate up like getting dunks on Darius. Like he's my favorite character. Mm-hmm. Getting a penta on Darius will always be like one of the favorite things I can do in any video game ever. You just feel like an absolute unit. You killed everyone. It's like the greatest feeling, dude. And your heart's just pumping. And it's like you just won the fight. It's just an amazing feeling. I don't
want to. Again, I'm not trying to detract it. I'm just trying to compare and contrast and stuff. Yeah. But like League, like we talk about meta, we talk about, and maybe at the high levels, StarCraft's no different. But it's just like I feel like in StarCraft or in some like RTS or other things like that, like you have ways of like I'm just going to outsmart this person. I'm going to do something so crazy that like whatever. But in League, it'd be like. There really isn't that. Like, it's like, I mean, I understand there's some strategy there and like you guys can like coordinate and be like, okay, we're going to do this, or hey, let's run up here and do X, Y, Z. But it's still like, oh, you picked this champ, you're playing here, like automatically and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And like that in, again, with StarCraft, it's going to be the same thing of, oh, you're doing this thing. Like, yes, you have to put these guys in the back door to do blah, blah, blah. But it's like, I'm looking for that game that's truly about just outsmarting and there isn't necessarily like a meta or something that's a little bit more that you can kind of like break it without getting like horribly punished or something like that. Like there's competitiveness, but competitiveness just boils down to like who can click fast because like everyone's still building the same route, right? Like you might deviate of like, oh, these guys are heavy. I know I'm butchering this, but like heavy armor, so I'm going to do this to kind of counter it. And it's kind of like this rock, paper, scissors thing. Mm-hmm. But there's no blatant like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this thing before, right? Like overall, like does it fall into kind of the same like, there's super cool plays, like somebody might miss something and then people capitalize and stuff. I'm not saying it's not like different every time, but it's still this kind of, you're always going to go for that dragon. There's never going to be a time when it's like, well, I'm going to do this instead. Well, they're going for the dragon. I'm going to I'm going to kind of jump around and hit this instead or something strategy-wise. I don't know. Like, am I making sense? Like, it's just like the game is set where if you don't do this, you're going to lose.
I understand where you're coming from, but I think you're kind of discounting it a little bit because
like I said, I'm not trying to like water it down or like take away from it. I respect it. Obviously, I can't do it.
I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, objectives are always going to be important. Like, there's always usually going to be team fights. I do think you do see sometimes some wild champions come out, and those are always like really exciting when something you don't expect comes out. So you do see some of that, but like, look, StarCraft is like, I don't want to discount that either. Like, that's incredible. I can't even comprehend like the APM they have, right? And shit like that, the strategy they have. It's like an infathomable thing. And I think the only reason League beats it for me is because I love the team dynamic. Mm-hmm. The 1v1 in StarCraft is like incredible. And I don't know, like, you're going to get that in any other game but in RTS because there's just so much going on.
Even StarCraft, you probably, and like I said, like whenever you're looking at it, I just don't understand even StarCraft. I'm not fighting for StarCraft, but like I don't even understand that enough where I'm sure it boils down to the same thing, right? Like I'm sure it boils down to you have to do this to win.
Yeah, I guess, but like
maybe that's every video game. Maybe I just want something.
Here's the thing. I think StarCraft is like ultimate macro. Right, you do have the micro elements to it, of course, like every game does, but it really has the ultimate macro. And I think like an FPS is that twitchy, like just outplaying, killing people. Like positioning matters, right? But you can just outskill someone, right? Just headshot them or whatever.
Right.
And I think League for me just has that balance. Like you can set up for a team fight and have that macro play, but also you can outplay someone with your champ, right? So I just like that balance. I think you get both. I don't know.
I think for me, when I think about League of Legends, if I think about the last 10 games I played, they were so different. Like none of them. If I think about the last 100 games I've played, they were so different. Like the outcome, where I was at the beginning of the game, where I was at mid game, where I was at end game, like what happened? How badly did my top laner crush, and I didn't have to do anything except do my job? How poorly did my jungle perform, and I needed to pick up the slack? Like the game has enough variables to feel like every game is unique, and it has enough champions where it feels like I don't know if I've ever had this team go up against this team before. And 5-on-5 with, again, I don't remember how many champions there are, 130 or something like that. It just, there's something magical about League that I never put it down. I always come back to it. I might not play for a week. I might not play for a month. I might not play for 5 months. But when I come back, that's what's nice about it, is that I have a comfort level with it. I might not know the most recent 2 champions, but I've played it long enough to where I can pick up my comfort champions, learn the new ones, what they do, know how to defend against them, and I'm right back in the action. And it feels amazing. And I think if you're starting off playing support, that is really tough. That is one of the most impactful positions in all of League of Legends. If you want to be starting off, you want to be playing AD carry or mid lane. These are roles that they're almost their sole job is to attack the closest priority target to them and farm. That is pretty much their role. Maybe ward to prevent yourself getting ganked, but outside of that, they are called a mid lane carry, a bot lane carry, AD carry, attack damage carry, magic damage carry. Your sole purpose is to attack whoever is closest to you and kill them. It doesn't matter if it's like the wrong target or what. If they're in range of you, you just attack. And that is like your bubble you were talking about. And if you learn outside of that what the other rules do, yeah, sure, maybe you play, a couple of Blitzcrank games here, or you go.
It's the only one that makes sense to me. I'm sorry.
I think top lane is very tragic. I think top lane is really
tragic. That's a good way to put it.
Because top lane is like you go down 10 farm, you lose. Top lane is you go down 1 kill, you lose, and there's no coming back from it. It just feels so bad. Mm-hmm. Mid lane, you have a little bit of distance, but you're talking about it like what to expect going into every game. I don't think that's true at all. There are somebody might pick a cheese lane against you. They might go Yasuo Yone. I know you might not know who those are. They might go Yasuo Yone bot lane. And you're like, what the hell is this? And you might have a terrible time because somebody just picked something out of the blue.
I just lost. This might have been one of the most frustrating games I've ever played in my life. I just lost to Inting Scion. The dude went 1-8 in lane.
It doesn't matter. He's killing turrets.
He went 1-8 in lane. It. Yeah. And then just builds straight attack damage, attack speed, and hull breaker. Splits the entire game. We cannot kill this guy, and he just absolutely one-shots our tower. He was like 2-20, and we just it was the most frustrating thing.
But see, maybe it is
I've
just
ever played.
Pure, like it's I don't want to say necessarily fear, but for me coming into that, you could list anyone down there, and if I'm playing like a support, let's say I'm playing Blitzcrank down on the bottom, right? It's just me and Harbin hanging out, me and Fortune. And we're just kind of doing our thing. I don't care who you put down there. I'm playing the game the same way, which I know is incorrect, right? I go onto the website that you tell me to go onto.
Yeah.
I pick whatever the items are.
Yeah.
And it's just like I follow the blueprint, right? Because it's still going to be better than me. But I guess I'm doing myself a disservice because I don't understand what I'm doing or why I'm doing it or what I should change.
Yeah, the problem you run into with support too is a lot of the items are actives. So it's like...
which is just more things that...
It's more things,
Dude,
yeah, exactly.
Here's the thing though. Just give me... Like, if you make it Diablo, which I don't understand... Like, there is zero reason why the control scheme could not be Diablo. There is zero reason. It's literally you left click to walk... or press and hold to kind of move it around and stuff.
Right click, sure.
And then you have your 1 through 4.
Do the camera?
No, not the camera. Just the,
1 through 4
for the abilities.
For the abilities.
Like that's it. Like it's
you just
not.
want to
It's
change
so
the
clear.
size of the click.
All I want to do is freaking change the sides of the
I can't believe
click.
you can't do that.
You can. Why wouldn't you just change it in
No, because
bindings?
I tried and it does something else where you can change it in bindings, but it's not. It's like it changes half of it.
I would recommend changing spacebar because spacebar is my attack move, and that controls the majority of my champion. But I think the gist of it, Tyler, is I do not envy your position. This is a game that I think Jon were lucky enough to pick up and adopt early enough where it wasn't as intimidating. There weren't as many champions. Somehow we fell into it. Not as many items. Well,
I started when...
Actually, they simplified that a little bit.
Yeah.
I started in when Gangplank got revived.
Well, here's the thing. I started with Dota, like the original Dota, like when it was a Warcraft mod. So it was kind of like an easy adoption. But I think that I would respect your position if you say, I never want to install this game. I completely get it. It is not a friendly install. It's not a friendly adoption. However, if you put the time in, you will be rewarded.
But will you at this late in the game? Like
Absolutely.
that's the thing I don't understand.
I guarantee
is like,
you.
But how much time and how much like
You gotta love it, dude. Like,
how much misery is it going to take to then finally have it click? And maybe that's different for every person. But it's like, are you willing to say like, hey, you're gonna hate your like this is all you can play, and you're gonna hate your life for a year?
Have you ever gotten a double kill?
No.
The second you get a double kill.
Actually, that's not true. So yes, I have, but again, it's not like and that's when I was playing Misfortune way back, like pre-Jinx era, where it's like I can do her little ult and I caught a few people and like that felt good. I'm not saying it didn't, but it's still like I hate the feeling of either not understanding how I died or not understanding why I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or just not knowing like, hey, this lumbering spider, I'm making it up, but this lumbering spider, this big dude just walking around super slow. I've been kind of doing this okay, fine, this whole time, and then like 45 minutes into the game, now they can fly and they have a tractor beam, and now I'm just dead if I'm within the screen of them for no reason, and I just have no understanding of, oh, this is kind of how they do it, or this is what happens, or this is what the ult does, or this color is on the ground. I don't know if that's a good color or a bad color, but it's a color, and it's like, well, I got to get out of that, and I get out of that, and it's like, well, why'd you get out of that? That's health, or that's a power up, or that's like, and it's just like, It is just
Yeah, it's
too
too
much.
much.
Like
Yeah.
the only thing worse than that is literally watching people build in Fortnite, because that goes back to the whole like, I know what you're supposed to do. I can't do it. My hands, I have arthritis thinking about it.
Right. So we can't put a time on this. How much suffering do you have to go through? We can't calculate
Dude,
that.
here's the thing, Jeff. Like for me, I don't think there's any hope for him, because for me, I was excited. I remember like I played Garen first or something, or no, I played like Ash first, and I was terrible. And then the first champ I bought was Shen, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll just like, I know I suck, so I'll just ult my teammate and like I'll just try to be as useful as I can. I was terrible, but I just remember I was just learning and learning. I was just getting a little bit better, and it was exciting for me.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh, look at all these champs. But yeah, I mean, if you're coming at it like, oh,
But
this is
if
too overwhelming,
every one
then
of
yeah.
my friends is like significantly better or understands the game more
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
to a point, you're helpful. And like you were great with the 3 times we played, or twice times we played,
Yeah.
twice times. But at the end of the day, it still feels bad to be like that weight, right? Like that's why I'm gonna play with like Jon, because it's like, I mean, Jon's still better than me, but it's like we can goof off in the bottom and just whatever's going on. Like for me, League of Legends is just 1/3 of the map. Like that's it. It's just at the bottom, and I get like irrationally angry if we're going down. Like I think it's going down. Like I don't like going down. I only like going up because I hate hitting the bar by mistake and stuff. Like you can't customize anything. You can't move anything around. Like if you could just customize some stuff. Like it's not like changing I don't keep harping on this and we'll end, but like it's not like changing the controls is suddenly like game breaking. I'm not asking for like auto aim or combos that you hit one button and it does your whole thing or whatever. I'm just asking to be flexible, to be like, hey, I want to play I'm making this up, with a controller. Like dumb, like I don't see why you do it, but like why can't you? That's the thing that I don't understand, is like, why can't, like if you can change your space bar to move and do whatever you want, why can't you change clicks? Like why is that such a mind-numbing like impossibility? Right? Because like you can kind of do it, but not to the point that I want. Like if I'm clicking on a dude, like I want to like target them, not like just kind of walk sometimes, but not other times. Like it's stupid. Anyway, that's all. Or just let me walk with WASD, and then I'll put all my attacks on my mouse. That's all.
Wow, that would be too much. But
Why?
I don't know.
But why? But like that's the thing, is like, why? You're doing the exact same thing.
You're changing the complete movement of the entire game.
How though? How?
Because there's
if anything, you're limiting me. If anything, you're limiting me by doing WASD.
No, I don't think so. I think you would actually be able to probably dodge abilities better that way, because your space in which you can change direction faster, right?
I think what we're looking at, like if we're imagining how fast I don't know if anyone can hear that over the mics, but you know how
Clicking
fast you can move WASD.
Right.
Think of it like a first-person shooter. There would need to be some huge mechanical overhaul in the timing of. In my head, the way it works is mostly mages, people that have attacks that are not targeted attacks. We call them skill shots, things that don't necessarily hit. They throw them out, hope they hit. If you change that, an entire type of champion in League of Legends automatically becomes disadvantaged, while the other champions that have auto-target abilities that you just hit the ability, target the champion, and it automatically hits, are then advantaged. So there would be a pretty significant shift in the popularity and strength of champions picked. In my opinion, I'm not a game developer. That is how I would, logically think about it. And in my head, I think some of the reasons why we look up to these, diamond master, like these professional players, is the proficiency of which they can wield these champions. It sounds so weird to say wield, but that's the way I look at it. Like I was watching a Zed player the other day who's an assassin, who I go up against Zed and I can barely contain him at the gold and platinum level, but I'm watching these professional players, and it's like, how do they even do what they kind of like where you're coming from? What did I just die to? That's what I'm looking at. I played the game for 10 plus years now, and I'm looking, how did that person do that? And we're talking about like how they perfect their combos, and there's still room for me to learn this far into the game. It's almost like Street Fighter combos. Oh my god, this guy's playing Zangief. He's landing some kind of combo into a throw, into like an uppercut, you know, and I'm not a Street Fighter guy, so sorry if there's any Street Fighter fans.
Heihachi comes in and just
I probably just butchered
just
Zangief
beats
for
Scorpion
somebody
with a rock.
Yeah, but it's like, to me, it's part of, and I know Nate hates the clicking too. He wants it to be WASD.
I'll even take the clicking, but make it Diablo, because Diablo is literally the exact same thing. Like, it is the same
I don't know why you can't do that. That doesn't make sense. But I agree with Jeff. You can't make it WASD. That's just funny.
And that's fine. Like, I can pull that argument back. But like, it's to like, if I just played 120 hours of Diablo, you would think that I could just be like, cool, I'm gonna play League of Legends, and it's like the same number of spells and the same like controls and stuff. Like, that would at least translate, because I can dodge the crap out of some spells in Diablo.
What if
I can
you
hit my
change
stuff?
Can you change the clicks on your computer?
Yeah, maybe I'm just not
Right?
passionate
Can you do
enough
that or
to
no?
do it.
Yeah.
This is above my pay grade.
I don't know.
I'm not a tech guy,
I
but
feel like that's something you could do, right?
I could be wrong, but if you're clicking through, and we've been talking about Diablo for 90 minutes.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Like, if you right click to move, yeah,
Yeah.
and then you press and hold it, and you can move it around that way as well.
Yes.
Okay, but then if you left click on something, what does that do? Targets it?
It targets
Highlights it, yeah.
just for information.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you hold shift down while you're moving, do you stop in place?
Wait, what?
So
shift click.
Yeah, so like if you're moving around with the right click, right?
Yeah.
And you want to like shoot out a skill shot or something.
Oh, so
right?
if you shift, like
if you hold shift,
if you shift
and
2,
hit it,
if you
do
shift 3
stop
or shift
moving?
4, what that's going to do is if you have it set up to autocast, it's then going to turn off autocast and give
that's not what I
you
want.
like.
What do you want it to do?
My thing is like, so for instance, like Misfortune, right? She's a ranged character. She's like shooting and stuff. So you're clicking through, and if you right click on somebody and you fire or something. But if you right click and let's say you miss the target, right? And you accidentally click the ground and she starts going forward and you're like, well, I'm dead now, right?
Right, yeah.
So
you could
with shift, it like in Diablo, it roots you. So even if you're like firing or something,
He's
even
talking
if you
about attack
misclick,
moving.
it stops. Yeah.
I think there's
So if you put shift as attack move, which is usually A, and click near them, you're going to still walk up to them, but you'll stop exactly when you're in range because it cannot target
Yeah, but that's
anything
still
else.
not. No, because it's not attack. I know what you're saying because that's in like Warcraft too.
Yeah.
But this one is like shift basically roots your character. So you can click wherever you want, but it's not going to move them because you're holding shift down. So it's like a fail-safe type of thing. Which again, it's like this nuanced stuff that like you would think you should be able to get something close to it. And again, maybe I just haven't cared enough to really dive into it and see if we can kind of like force it. But I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just like,
I got you.
I mean, I have it downloaded and whatever.
I apologize for opening the can of worms.
No. It's like I want to like it. And the problem that I have is even if it's like, okay, I'm playing, pick a character and I put them down below and I'm playing it down below.
below.
You know,
The depths.
down in the depths of the bottom.
Yeah.
And I play against somebody.
Yeah.
And luckily we figured out like, hey, you can turn off players' names. Because how many times, it's Jinx, kill Jinx. I'm like, I don't know which one. What is that? Like, because now I'm targeting people that kind of sound like what you're trying to tell me. So if you're telling me like, Arachna girl is attacking you. Obviously, I'm going to attack the spider, but it's not the spider. Apparently, it's a polar bear or something behind her. And that's Arachna girl because that makes sense. And I have no clue who I'm attacking or
so
anything.
you just had champion names on.
Well, now I do, yeah. So like that had to get changed. But then it's like, cool. And because there's, 1,000 champions, yeah, I might play these people down below and then I don't see them again for 9 games. So all the hot strats I pick up playing against Arachna Girl and Polar Girl, I don't know why they're both girl. And it's
Polar, well, they all.
It's Polar Girl, but it's a guy. I don't know. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm fighting these two. And then I finally get honed in, and me and Harbin are doing some work, and then we just never see that matchup again or whatever. Yeah. Like, I get how it's different every time, but it's very hard to learn.
Yeah, no.
And, like, the fundamentals of, like, last hitting and doing this and stuff like that, like, okay, I get that. But that's such a small, like, that doesn't matter. Like, that's like, well, first you have to turn your computer on. Like, okay, I got that. Like, I don't know. I'm just bitter. I'm bitter and old. Whatever.
There's a lot that I want to continue to say, but I feel like you would want to move on. I don't know.
For Tyler,
no, that's fine. It's fine.
We probably should move on. I could talk about League all day though. So
yeah,
that's why I get around.
That's my problem too. Is like
I don't want to drag people down. That's all. Like I appreciate, because like you guys are very generous and gracious with me and when I'm playing, but like at the end of the day, all the cool stuff, I will never be there.
Yeah.
Because you're always going to have 5 people that you would rather play, let's put in air quotes, real League with.
Yeah.
Like, you can throw me a bone and we can kind of like, mess around on like low level type stuff or whatever. But it's never going to be like, hey, we want to enter this tournament. Like, let's go. Because I'm never going to have that. Like, you say, hey, you just have to put time into it. I'm never going to be able to put all the time into it unless I'm just like, I don't play anything else. Right. And I just dedicate, like, okay, I'm just going to do every night. I'm playing 3-4 games or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I disagree, but we can.
Really? I think I'm with him. I don't think he'll.
I think there's things in League called one tricks for a reason. And I think if you want the payoff that we're talking about, you would need to one trick something.
Yeah.
Just play Blitz.
It's called
game.
Blitzcrank.
Yeah.
And a support champion is not it.
He loves
Blitz,
Blitz,
but well, I don't like supports. I was under the impression supports are like late game doesn't really matter. Like Blitzcrank late game isn't really doing anything for you. Yeah, you might get a hook, but like Blitzcrank early game and late game really is not a make or break of anything. That's my understanding of it. Is late game Blitzcrank that much different than early game Blitzcrank?
No, but I mean, I don't want to get into the whole philosophy. Here's the thing, dude. Statistically, like theoretically, you're right. Like, you're not going to kill anyone. You're going to die pretty quick. Blitzcrank's interesting because like you could literally feed your ass off the whole game, hit the hook on the 80 carry like 50 minutes in, and completely win the game for your team.
Okay, well, with that kind of pressure, it doesn't. I don't know.
You don't want that drug, Ricky Bobby. You don't. You don't want that. You don't want. Trust me, you do not want that.
But what I'm saying is, you're telling. So if I'm understanding, right?
Yeah.
Middle lane. That's that's your big boy. That's the guy that knows what he's doing. That's the guy that can help top and bottom and things like that, right? Like, don't you have responsibilities as mid lane to like come down and gank or come and help and do different things?
See, I haven't been
Jungle's
in like
its
bronze
own thing.
in so long where it's like I don't know what the game's like down there. Iron,
yeah, that's what
that didn't exist.
Is there
like
pewter? That's probably where I'm at right now.
Yeah, but like I don't like the game is different down there than it is where we are at, me and Jeff,
right?
And then
but
where the pros are at.
But that's the problem, is because the game is so different. But I'm listening to you guys.
Right.
I'm going on the website that is taking the top 1% of this is the build you want. Like, this is no different than going into a Call of Duty match with like some like OP gun or whatever with some hot strat that's like, oh, this is how you do it, or a Diablo build of like, this is the final thing that you want.
Right.
And meanwhile, like, you can't understand why it's good.
No, you're right. You should literally
bad.
just play with John and then figure the game out. That's honestly.
John will never play with me. He's playing Valorant because
Yeah,
he's good. Everyone gravitates to what they're like good at, right?
No, as you should.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I guess.
I think if you're looking for the least amount of responsibility in the entire game, you're playing mid or AD carry. You are not playing support. You're not playing top, and you're not playing jungle.
Well, that's what I mean. Jungle is its own beast. Top apparently is just the worst.
It's the
support
worst.
is too many things to keep track of.
Exactly. So what you want to be playing is the two roles that are almost solely responsible for the area around them and only the area around
But
them.
if I don't play them right, doesn't that, like, at the end game, doesn't that just cripple the team more so than...
So if I understand you, Tyler, and we've known each other for what, 4 or 5 months now. No, I don't know.
It's got to be at least a year.
It's been a couple. It's about a year and a half. What you can literally do as an AD carry is make a spreadsheet. Say, my tower goes down first. This is my job from 5 minutes to 10 minutes. We kill their tower first. This is my job from the point where we kill their tower until this minute. Like, there are breakdowns of the game that'll give you at least the beginner sense of what your character should be doing. Where if you're a jungler, it's so much of a wild card. You need to have a understanding of the map, an understanding of jungle pathing. You need to understand what you need to do if you're losing an objective. Where if you're playing one of these carry champions, your job is to, in some ways, especially at lower elo, is to follow the engage, follow the jungler, follow kind of the cues of the tempo of the game. And it's a little bit more predictable. If you're playing support, you have so much more pressure on you to either engage, make a play, get vision, roam mid, make sure you're zoning off. Like, there's so much that goes into support. And some people say support's the easiest role. I disagree completely. I think to be a good support player, you need so much confidence in your playmaking ability, especially to know if you're playing an enchanter, an engage, or a mage. You need to have the full package. If you're playing AD carry, the champion pool gets shrunk a little bit, and you can be effective on 2 to 3 champions or one trick, one AD carry. That's a safe pick. The same thing for mid lane. You can play a scaling mage that their entire job is to farm for the first 10 to 15 minutes. Sure, your enemy might roam bot, get a kill, might roam top, get a kill. Your team might flame you a little bit. But if you're out farming...
You lost me. It's like, okay, well.
Dude, he should literally just play Malzahar. Dude, he's so easy.
If you're out farming your opponent, you're going to be relevant in the game. And as long as you're relevant in the game, when those team fights roll around and you do damage... there's a chance you can still win the game.
We just need to find him the right champ. Like, that's half the game. Once you find that champ you're in love with, like when I found Darius, I was like, I'm in, dude. This guy's my guy. Malzahar, dude,
I own all
so
the champs
easy.
I don't like Malzahar for him because he's too low range, too high risk with the ult. I think it can be difficult to
But he one-shots waves, so it's easy for him to farm. He has a point-and-click ult. So Tyler knows exactly, like, if I click on this guy with my R, I am going to lock him down.
And then get killed by the 3 other people behind him. No, bad idea.
Dude, I'm telling you, Val's is so easy, bro.
He's not.
Yes, he is. In that elo, he just
I
cooks.
have everyone.
You have everyone.
Is that something...
You want to play Lee Sin, dude. It's like so easy.
That is
so far
absolutely wrong.
I am short of Darius and the Jinx that I've talked about, and Arachna Girl. Short of those people, I haven't recognized, and that's the whole point of this, is I haven't recognized a single champ you've said.
I wish you could turn skins off, because I feel like that's a huge fact.
too.
Because he's looking at the same champs,
That's a great point.
right?
And they're completely different.
For a new person, you're looking at the same champ, and they look totally
and there's 12
different.
different versions.
Yeah, and you can't because
exactly.
You can't have people pay all that money and then
not show it off. Well, they get to see it. It doesn't matter. They don't know that the other person turned it off.
Half the point is to be like, yo, dude, I'm better than you. Look at my iRobot Blitzcrank.
I'm just saying. I think that would be a good addition.
I want to play it. Every time we talk about it, I'm like, man, I want to play it. And then 40 minutes in on the first game, I realize.
Like I said, I respect either choice that you make because
I think you're doomed. I don't think you
No,
should
I would love to play. Like, okay, so you're saying that like we'd play a game and you'd be like, all right, Tyler, you're mid.
Dude,
like that would be the level of trust.
This is my opinion, not John's.
No, I think you're exactly right. Where like, if you play mid, you're gonna lose us every game for a while.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So like, how
be a rough match.
There is not a good feeling there,
match.
even if you are the most kind, gracious, like whatever. Of like, all right, man. Well, because of you, we lost. Like you can't disguise that.
Look, no matter what you play, there's a hump you're gonna have to get over. I don't think you're gonna want to do it. I think you're doomed.
I want to do it, but I don't want to do it alone.
I disagree.
That's
So
the
You don't wanna do it
problem. I
alone.
don't want to do it alone.
Well-
Meaning, I need another Tyler
Yeah.
that's ideally slightly worse than me.
go with Nate.
Nate?
Nate's not gonna win.
No, Nate's way better than I am.
I brought Nate into one game. We went into a custom match, played the same exact champion.
Yeah.
I said, Nate, do exactly what I do. Drop this here, drop this here, drop this here, get ready. I'm going to come gank you. Cast this spell on me, do this, see if it kills me. It killed me. I think you go into a couple of custom games with the champion you're either assigned by.
Signed.
I have them all. That's the thing.
I don't
I
know,
own
like,
every
what-
champion because I have Game Pass now.
What kind
so
of champ are you like? What kind of play style are you
I don't
looking for?
know. I've only played.
What do you like in Diablo? What's your favorite
Ranged.
range?
Yeah.
Damage, like the Vampire Hunter. What is it?
Yeah, I play the Demon Hunter.
It'd be a 80 carry.
Yeah, well, like the person I gravitate. So I played a bunch of different champs, right? So like, I guess Ashe was like one of the original,
Yep.
like OG, like
She's
always,
easy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Played her a lot. I gravitated towards Misfortune because I understood. I liked the idea of this like skill shot of like, okay, well, you shoot him, but you're actually trying to bank it off. I liked that aspect to it. I really, really enjoyed it, and like kind of like punishing people for that kind of thing. But I played her mid whenever we played. So that was like way, way, way back, which apparently was like the meta. That was like what
Was he
you were
playing
supposed
AP
to do.
Misfortune?
No, it was definitely AD.
I think AP Misfortune might be the pick.
I don't know.
It's easier.
But
Yeah.
I played her, I played Annie, I played Thresh, Blitzcrank.
We love Blitzcrank.
Again, you want to talk about like what gives you the best feeling. Nothing feels better than somebody trying to go away in that one pixel and you grab him
Yeah.
and you pull him the heck back and just
The problem you run into with Blitz is you have to have a good understanding of who you should pull and don't.
well, yeah. So I pull
And
him and it
that's-
turns out,
yeah.
oh, you didn't want that one.
He just pulls like in a Scion and you're like, fuck.
Okay,
Look,
Man,
kills.
I am
Pulls him,
indiscriminate on my pulls.
He sees a hook, he hits it. Yeah.
I'm just happy
True
to-
Blitzcrank player.
But like pulling them through walls and stuff, like I like that aspect to it. But like
Yeah.
to your point where it's like, okay, this is, and I understand you're talking about like the basics, like this is what you're supposed to do. And I think that's what I was getting at, where it's like, because I have such a bad understanding of the game, I have to rely on, all right, at 5 minutes I'm going to do this. If it, and like that works to an extent, but that's not going to be for every game. And then I'm going to get discouraged because it's like, well, you definitely shouldn't have waited 5 minutes to do this thing, or you shouldn't have done this during this point, or this is how you should have adapted it. It's like, again, a trial by fire thing, which like,
I think
I just
John
have to do
was a
it.
little bit right. There's going to be a hump no matter what you do.
yeah,
However,
but who's willing to sit through that hump?
you're the only one that has to.
No,
Nobody else has to.
No,
sit
you
through
have to lose
No.
several. If I play with you, you have
because
to
here's
lose
the problem.
several
If you're
games.
playing with us, then the hump becomes even more significant because your opponent might be at a higher level than what you should be going up against.
Yeah, but then I have to play by myself.
No.
That's not fun. I got all the mean kids.
No,
I mean-
I think it's a very difficult situation. When we're talking about like you do this at 5 minutes, you do this at 10 minutes. Even at our ELO, there are people that don't understand that part of the game. I was in a game literally this morning, and someone was AFK in the bot lane. Okay, so it was literally 2v1. I said, "Hey, buddy, we don't have the comp to kill this guy under turret," and guess what he did? He kept pushing the wave under turret. I said, "Hey, please freeze the wave. He'll starve a farm. If he walks up, we kill him." Nope, he kept pushing in. Guess what ended up happening? That bot laner outscaled us in level, ended up becoming stronger than us as a 2 unit, and we weren't able to do anything and got punished whenever the jungler came. So we literally lost a 2v1 in gold elo. And so a lot of these basics people still don't understand, even up to platinum. So if you get a really good understanding of the basics, it can carry you a very long way. The other thing that really works well is if you go into a bot game 100% by yourself, and I dare you to pick any champion and try to hit every CS. Hit every minion. That'll do you a world of good. If you're at 10 minutes and you have 75 farm, I guarantee you are at least half an item to an item up on your opponent at your elo. So if you can hit 75 farm at 10 minutes, I don't care if your opponent roamed, I don't care if they killed you. If you have 75 CS at 10 minutes in your elo, you will be ahead of your opponent. Sorry, that's my rant. I got to.
No, you're right.
And the CS is like a critical last hit thing, right? Yeah.
Creep score.
Creep score. Yeah. That's what I thought.
Killing creeps, minions.
Yeah.
It was a long league talk.
Well, hey man, I get excited and I want to play it, but that's it though. Is like, how do I know that I'm doing it right? Because if I can't play with you guys because it makes the people too good, then I'm just gonna form a bunch of bad habits.
I think a lot of it's just grinding through it. Like, I'm trying to think back when I first played, and I played in a group with my friends, and they were so much better than me because they've been playing for so much longer. And for me, I started off just playing champs where it's like, okay, I'm gonna suck ass, but I can
how many
do
champs were there?
50 something.
That's what I mean. So like
something.
now there's what 120.
Yeah, like double that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like, okay, well, like that's good, but.
Oh, I mean, I didn't know what people did. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, even 60 champs is too many to know, you know what I mean? Especially when you start. So, I don't know. I just started, I remember I like played Warwick, like old Warwick when it was point and click. I just walk around and R people every once in a while. I was terrible, like laughably bad. They'd be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And so I know the feeling, but I don't know. I was always excited because I was like, oh man, I can't wait till I find that next champion I like. And, I don't know.
How much can you like? You think a game is enough to be like, yeah, I like this guy, or no, I don't?
Yeah,
like, do you
I think you can kind of tell, like you gravitate towards like, yeah, this feels good.
Yeah, or
This
like
doesn't
just
feel
start
good.
taking notes, like literally just start alphabetical and like start from like the first portrait that pops up,
Dude, I mean,
and just start going through all 100 and just play 100 games.
that's a lot of games.
That's
I don't
a lot
know.
of games,
I don't know
but,
what's
like,
the best way to do it, man. It's tough. I just think
Who's the closest to Misfortune? What's her face with the rifle? I played her.
Kaylin, yeah.
Kaylin,
I mean,
Played Kaylin.
easiest AD carry. I mean, Misfortune's like the best noob-friendly AD carry, I think.
Yeah, but doesn't she get banned half the time?
In that elo, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
She was probably picked half the time. But I would say like Misfortune. Jin's kind of easy because you don't have to like auto attack really fast. It's very slow. Like his auto attack speed never improves.
But do I go to that website and do I pick like literally his build from the website?
Yeah, especially for an 80 carry, it's pretty optimized.
Yeah.
You don't really
There would only be like one deviation.
It's just the
well, you can get into
of-
deviations, but like the core mythic and then the like next one are usually pretty set in stone, and then it usually depends like, do you want lifesteal, do you want armor pen, and then you can deviate from that.
I don't know. The thought of playing with 4 strangers is just like I never
yeah.
play. Like I don't even MMOs. I don't like.
I
playing
didn't
with
play
people.
with 4 strangers. I
like
played with my
soloing,
friends.
that's it.
I played with my friends. I think it's probably the better way to go. But from what you're telling me, you don't want to be a burden. So it's like,
Yeah, I mean, as
then,
long as
you
you're
know,
like,
what
hey,
are
I'm
you
just
gonna do?
we're gonna lose.
yeah,
Like make another Smurf account.
dude, I don't care lose. I don't care if I lose. We're playing normals anyway.
Can you make a Smurf account and connect it? I guess not, because you already connected your Xbox.
Yeah,
huh? You
right.
already
So
did
now
it.
I can't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
I don't know. All right.
That's what yeah.
I don't know how I feel now. I just want to play StarCraft and actually, I don't even want to play StarCraft. I want to play Warcraft, but I refuse to pay $40 for it. Anyway,
Anyway, we were going to talk.
we
about
had a lot of
something
other stuff. I feel like we move on to the
to the meat.
meat.
So Resident Evil 4, we all just played it. Jeff's got the notes. We're going to talk about it. Much anticipated. Like people talk about this game like one of the greatest games of all time.
This is on the same level as Final Fantasy VII,
I agree.
right? Okay, I didn't know if that was
Yeah.
too far, but like this remake, I put in the same category as like a Final Fantasy VII
Yeah,
remake,
people
where it's
look
like
at- yeah.
they'll never do this, and then they did it, and it's like, oh shit, like okay, cool.
And like I think probably most people's favorite Resident Evil, right?
I think by far, right?
I think when we look at what they set out to do, the risk that was there, this is a beloved game, right? So even before the remake, this is a game that probably makes a lot of people's I don't want to say top 20, but definitely top 50 if they're talking about most influential games of all time. When we look back at when this game first released, the over-the-shoulder tank controls were not common at all. This is a game that influenced The Last of Us, influenced Gears of War. This is something that really changed the game in terms of, no pun intended, like action horror and how you control the character. This was, I think, a massive risk that Capcom took very strategically by starting with 2 and then 3. And one of the things that they did was they used their own proprietary engine to make this game, the same engine they're using for Street Fighter 6, the RE engine. And I think it paid off dividends. And they made a lot of changes to the core game that I think blew me away, and we can get to that. But this is, I don't know how you don't herald this as like a huge success. And if we look at the last 3 months, we had 4 major remakes and remasters of beloved games, right? We had, let me see here. We had Tales of Symphonia, which flopped.
I didn't even know they remade that.
That is a beloved.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about a GameCube game. The same with RE4, GameCube game original release. That came out in February. Dead Space remake. And we had the Metroid Prime remaster. So we were looking at 4 beloved games in history that have either been remade or remastered. And for some reason, we're sitting here talking about RE4. So that, I think that speaks dividends.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's one of those, like, I think it looks good. It does. It's not as big of a change from like RE2, right? And like, I don't know really how you would do that without completely changing what that game was, which like, I think taking it out of those tank controls and making you like being able to like kind of like be a little bit more mobile whenever you're like shooting things and whatnot. I think that's all, we call it modernization of it. Does it take some of the horror aspect or some of like kind of like the like you're feeling like almost like claustrophobic out of it? Like I think so, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a little bit more accessible. I felt like it was fluid enough without completely throwing kind of what made that 4th game special away. I don't know if that makes sense, but like for me, I liked it where, and I'm sure all the collectibles and everything were in the original as well. Did they do like all the different keys and things in the original game? I just probably never cared back then. But I spent like a good part of my time playing that game was like, yeah, I'll kill everybody, but then like I go back and like try to like find all the little secrets and hidden things. And I think they did all that really well. I thought the map was really well done. Yeah, I don't know. I like graphically, I feel like every time I watch it on anyone else's screen, it looks better than mine. Did you get that at all? I mean, I was even watching your stream, and I'm just like, like, I have higher settings on than you do, but, like, the PlayStation looked better, you know, on some of the things.
I think, I'm just going to say, one of the things that I absolutely hate about streaming is that I can't play on my OLED, right? So I automatically think every game looks worse than whatever its potential is. So I feel you there because I'm looking at this game and I'm like, oh, it's on my computer monitor. Like, why am I doing this? Why can't I just plug it into my 50-inch OLED that makes everything look amazing? But I feel you there. I wasn't blown away by the graphics. I think there was some weird hair textures. But what I do think that they really pulled off was that really earthy, grainy world of the first iteration of... First of all, I played on PlayStation 2 the first time I played this game. I did not play in GameCube. I didn't have a GameCube, but it was ported to PlayStation 2. That was the first time I played it. And it is so, like, earthy, and there's very little color in it. And it really sets the atmosphere. And... even though graphically it didn't blow me away, I think some of the lighting effects were really good. Some of the shadows, some of the light penetrating through, a broken roof or the trees or whatever. I was, even the first day I streamed, I was like, wow, this looks pretty dang good. And of course, I'm playing on performance mode, not fidelity mode. I can't handle, just like John, I can't do 30 frames. I just can't do it.
We've evolved.
But, I think... one of the things that I respected most about this was the changes that they made to the map, right? So they took some stuff away and they elongated some sections. They even flipped some maps around. So some of the map that you would play in the original, you might start at the beginning of the town. They actually flipped the entire map, and now you start at the back end of the map, moving through the opposite way in this remake. They made these subtle changes where if you're a fan of the first one, it will make you feel at least a little bit unfamiliar with this new version to the point where you might not know where that enemy's coming from, and it still provides those jump scares. Crafting was not in the original, so in the original you were not crafting ammo. You were picking up ammo. I think.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. You can't craft in the original.
In the original, you can't craft. So,
but you could combine stuff.
You could combine herbs.
Yeah.
So in the original, like I do like that kind of change, especially whenever you might have a specific play style. You might have a couple of guns that you're really like reliant on. You might choose to craft the shotgun ammo ahead of the magnum ammo, or vice versa. Or you're focused on submachine gun ammo and pistol ammo. That's completely up to you. I really appreciate that. The knife breaking, when we talk about being able to move and going away from tank controls, I think that was a really nice touch of saying, hey, you know what? You might be a little bit more agile, but guess what? You're not getting infinite parries. You're not going to be able to infinitely defend yourself with a knife that doesn't break. Guess what? Because your knife's going to break. So I think that was a nice little tug and pull that the developers made. The repairing the armor was just annoying because it was like $10K every time you repair your armor. But overall, just the changes that they made in this game, I think were very, like you said, modernized. I think a new gen gamer, I think my little cousin, in 8th grade coming to this game would far more likely be willing to pick it up without the tank controls. If the tank controls were there, he'd probably be like, what the heck is this? How do I play this?
Mm-hmm. And it's weird because that is kind of how Metroid Prime is.
Oh, yeah.
More or less. So it's like, even that doesn't feel nearly as good because they didn't go fully the opposite way. Like, they still kind of harken back to that stuff. So you can kind of see it in both ways with the remakes, where it's like one was maybe a little bit more faithful to the original, to kind of the layouts and how everything works and controls and stuff. And the other one is like, okay, we'll take some liberties, modernize a little bit, see if we can kind of bring it to the, on par with what games are today.
Yeah, do you guys have a preference? Because there's a balancing point, right? When we talk about remaking a game, especially like a classic game like those two you mentioned. And do you find it more fulfilling to be more faithful to the original, where it's like, oh, this is exactly how I remember the layout. There's the treasure at this particular spot, just like when I was a kid? Or do you like that kind of fresh approach, like Jeff was speaking to, where they changed the map around a bit? The secret spots might be in different locations, right? Things like that.
We've been loosey-goosey. When I say we, the games have been loosey-goosey, where I think the difference between remaster and remake is starting to gray a little bit, right?
Oh, so 100%. Yeah. I totally agree.
Is there enough in Resident Evil 4 to call it a remake? Sure. I think they did enough to move stuff around. I think you have to. I think that's something where I could do it both ways. I like it both ways. I think Spyro is a perfect example of that, where Spyro, they remastered it, but it's still extremely faithful to the original. It just looks like
every gem's in the exact same spot. Yeah.
So I think that, even though that's a remaster,
right.
I think if we're being honest, it's a huge lift, but it's a remaster.
Yes.
A remake like Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 4, Final Fantasy, Dead Space. When you really kind of look at the two, it's like, okay, Dead Space did change a lot.
Yeah.
I think I would gravitate more towards the remake, because even remasters with maybe the Spyro's a little different, but I want to be deep down, I still want it to be a new experience, I think.
Right. And people, I think, initially will say, oh, I want the same thing. But then you play, you know what I mean? You start playing it and you kind of realize, we did this, right? We always want something new.
Yeah, or I could play it. Yeah, it might look a little different, but ultimately it's the exact same feel or something. And it's higher res now, but I paid $60 for a higher res version of. Again, Spyro is on the.
Yeah, Spyro is probably one of the best remasters that we've seen. In my
it's
opinion.
so much. It should. Yeah. It's like
but
a 2.5.
yeah, like, and then you get like new dialogue and stuff, new voice acting, obviously. Like, I know we'll get into this, but I actually really liked Leon in this game. Like, they keep the cheesiness that he had, in the original, but because I was going back and watching some of the original stuff, and like some of it's like really bad.
Yeah.
It's like, it's rough.
Like they're talking on radios and stuff.
Yeah. And it's like, it's a dated game. You know what I mean? It's very dated. And I just think they did such a fantastic job of keeping the essence of like who he is, but just modernizing it. Makes it more interesting. I think the voice actor, I don't know who it was, but I think he did an incredible job.
Yeah, I thought all the voice actors
all the voice actors, yeah, which is, I don't know, really big for me. That's, I'm a character guy, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's what pulls me in. So
is it the same guys from 2? I assume they would just pull the same, like Ada and.
I don't know, but I was feeling a little off on Ada voice acting wise.
Oh, see, I actually thought Ada was
Really?
my favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
Ada for me was not hitting. But aside from that, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Now, sound design, a little bit different. I thought some of the sound design and sound choices were pretty poor. But I think just to comment on, Jon's point of remake versus remaster, I think we underestimate how many new gamers are coming into this hobby. And I know Jon likes to harp on he's tired of The Last of Us. I am not tired of The Last of Us. I think that remastering one of Sony's flagship products is not brilliant, but it's a no-brainer. I'm going to reference my cousin a lot. My little cousin this Christmas, cousin Jeffrey, what should I get? Xbox or PlayStation? Well, cousin, don't you already have a PC? He's like, yeah, I got this dope PC. I'm like, well, why would you get an Xbox? He's like, oh, you're right. He's like, what game should I get? I'm like, have you ever played The Last of Us? My Uncle Sean. Hey, Uncle Sean. Oh, isn't that coming to HBO? Yeah, it's coming to HBO. Oh, I could watch the thing and he could play the game. I'm like, that's perfect. I think there's room in this world for whatever the IP dictates, right? I think the choice for Resident Evil to be remade in a different way was the proper choice. I think the idea of The Last of Us being remastered for each console makes sense. It is a flagship product, and if somebody's new to that console, they should have the best version of a flagship product available to them, similar to GTA.
What if they change the story? Or what if they add
not.
and they?
Well,
but you see what I'm saying? Like when I know we're talking about Resident Evil, but now you start getting into the thing of like Final Fantasy, and they start kind of playing around with some stuff and kind of alluding to certain things of just like, oh, well, what about?
That's the thing. A key difference too is like the amount of time you have between the remake. Like if we look at Final Fantasy, that's the greatest change where it's not even turn-based anymore. It's just a totally different experience. But even Resident Evil, like if you go back to that game, it is dated, man, right? Yeah. And this is like a not entirely new experience. I think they capture the essence, but like definitely new. Like there's enough time in between you remaking the game where it's like this needed it. Whereas I don't know, my argument is Last of Us is like they just keep doing it like sequentially, and there's not enough. I know the game actually has been out for a while, like the original, but there hasn't been enough breadth.
But I guess what I'm getting at is like, I agree with you, right? So like generally speaking, I think that if a game is beloved and it's like this was a fantastic game, everyone should be able to experience it in the best way possible. But as we kind of progress throughout like our culture and time and different things like that, at what point do you accept changes or not accept changes or do different things? So example wise is like, let's say Leon was like super misogynistic and just kind of this jerk. Do you change that and try to fix it to today's norms? Meaning like, hey, back in the day, this wasn't viewed as poorly as it is today, right? So we're trying to paint Leon in this light. If you view him as is today, he looks way worse than what we intended. So we're going to change certain aspects of the game and his character and different things like that to evoke the same feeling as what we wanted you to get 10 years ago. You know, like at what point, what line is that? Or if the director is like, hey, I really wanted to do this whole thing, or this is what I truly envisioned it to be, but we just ran out of budget or we ran out of time. But now, again, a decade later, I get to realize my vision. This is actually what I consider the true ending. What is that tolerance? Or is that very much like game to game on like what the fans would be like, okay, we accept this, or we're going to rebel against you because like, how dare you not kill Aerith or something like that?
I think we already have two really good examples of both those scenarios in gaming today. And one of them would be the reboot of the Tomb Raider series, where, you know, back in the day, Lara Croft was this sex icon, this, you know, you would get the, I don't even remember what magazine it used to be, but like PlayStation Magazine or Game Informer. I don't think it was Game Informer, but I very vividly remember getting the swimsuit issue of a freaking video game magazine.
He meant strategically.
It was strategic thinking.
It was very strategic. Mom, look, it's NFL quarterback.
But it would be,
97.
you know what? It would be Yuna. It would be Tifa. It would be Lara Croft. And you know, we see Angelina Jolie's iteration of Tomb Raider in cinema, and she was a sex symbol. And now we get this reboot of the series that is very much more along the lines of this, you know, empowered, kind of adventurous woman who, you know, might still have that, you know, sexy side, but she is more empowered, and she is more of like this just focus on adventuring rather than, you know, the sex appeal. And then on the other flip coin of that, we have Duke Nukem, right? So Duke Nukem, something that did not age well, a product that has been trying to get legs and, you know, under it for a long time now, and released a game, I don't know, what was it, 2017, that absolutely bombed. It was given like 3 or 4s, you know, out of 10.
Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah, and I don't even know when that came out.
Yeah.
That was a while ago.
But they did. They transferred the same, you know, asshole character into a modern day game, and people didn't respond like they did before. So I think if you're looking at a game from the past with, you know, cultural issues that would come up, I honestly can't think of that many off the top of my head. I wouldn't imagine a developer or publisher would be like, that game, we're doing it, guys, we're bringing it, but you got to fix everything over here. Like, you know, you can't have that. But to your point, I don't know. Look at the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. Like, what if would I have wanted a Final Fantasy VI remake similar to the Final Fantasy VII remake? Sure, but I'm really excited that Final Fantasy VI is going to be playable again in a good format that it was released on way back when. Because guess what? That's one of my biggest sins as a gamer. I haven't played Final Fantasy VI, so I am thankful that I can play the original. If a remake ever happens, sick.
So let me ask you this then. Like, let's take something like a Halo 2, right? We know the Halo 2 and abruptly they ran out of time and budget or whatever, and it's just like I'm finishing this fight, and then it just cuts, right? And then you have to wait all this time. Whenever it's kind of a moot point because they already remastered it. But like, if they were going to say like, hey, we're remaking Halo 2, and then they like add all this stuff at the end, or they change something significant, like, is that something? I mean, that's a bad example because people were so pissed off at Halo 2. Maybe it'd just be good. But it's one of those things like, how much can you get away with? I think is the thing. Is like, when you're talking about a remake, is it purely just taking all the pieces, shuffling them around, but Joel's still going to murder the entire hospital? You know, like, Ellie's still going to survive here. Or, you know, like, Tomb Raider's still going to be Tomb. Like, you know, like, whatever. It's like... Is it always like Nasty Nork's always going to get defeated? Like, you know, like, are these staples of like, okay, at some point, and maybe a game just hasn't done this yet, but like, if a game deviated and just said, actually, Aerith lives and now Tifa dies, or something to that effect, right? Like, is that going to completely like blow people's minds? Because now you have this split where like the OG generation that played Final Fantasy VII is playing this, and they're just like, this is like what, But all the new people playing it are just like, oh, that makes sense. This is like, they love it, and it's like it's simultaneously like quote unquote like canon, and I don't know what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? Like it's like how can you navigate that?
I mean, I have a response. Do you want to go, John?
Well, for 7 Remake in particular, I think that is exactly what you're describing because of the way they set it up. I mean, this is just huge spoilers. We've all played it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But the game itself is a sequel. It's not really a remake. So that's kind of like the craziness of it. So like the scenario you're talking about could happen. Like nobody knows.
Right.
So we'll see if they do something crazy. Like I think they opened the door to do something crazy like that in that game because like the whole point of the bullshit ghosts and shit was like you kill this and now it's like the rails are off. Like still the same story, quote unquote, but something could happen. The fate is dead. Like
yeah,
the thing you remember. You know what I mean? So it's like nobody knows. And the second game is going to be like the telltale sign because up until now it's been pretty similar. But I just think it's a different scenario, and that's why I call it a sequel and not a remake, really, because it's.
But your original question of like, do you want it to be what you remember, or do you want it to be like the kind of?
And that's why that game got not so much backlash, but a lot of people is very polarizing because they were like, no, I just wanted exactly what I remember, updated. And then someone like me, I thought it was super interesting, like. Because the original will always exist, right? And, you played that, but having something new is like, I don't know, I just find that more interesting. Yeah. Because now everyone's in the same boat where like, what is going to happen?
I think in terms of Final Fantasy, I think that was enough of the original for me to draw that parallel. Even if the combat was completely different, there was, more of this, more of that. To me, that did not feel like that much of a departure. If we're talking about like Tyler's question, like how far do you take it? Like, I think there's a reason why there is a creative director. I think there is a reason there is a marketing director. I think there is a reason why there is a project lead, because these people need to ensure that these teams are on the same point, that they have ran the numbers. If you're telling me that they're going to take a beloved franchise, a beloved game like Final Fantasy VII and derail it for a new audience, I would be completely shocked that is the case. I think different franchises have different levels of risk. I think a game like a platformer, Donkey Kong, Super Mario, right, Zelda, they're very risk. It's very low. You look at Breath of the Wild, it's like, who cares? Like, I didn't like Breath of the Wild, but it doesn't matter. My Zelda is a link to the past. They can do whatever they want with Zelda. He's the hero of time. Mm-hmm. The new trailer for Tears of the Kingdom came out, and I'm like, what the hell is this? This does not appeal to me at all. This is taking Zelda in the opposite direction of what I would want, but that's okay with me. I just understand that is not my Zelda. If you're going to remake a game, I think as a company, you need to be aware of the risks, and I think many of them are. I think if we're looking at Capcom directly, which creator of Resident Evil, where's Mega Man? Where is it?
They made it.
No.
It was kind of like, meh.
That was not Capcom. That was not a Fune. That was a Kickstarter project, and that tanked.
Yeah.
So,
I understand it wasn't Mega Man, but what I'm saying is like that was about as good as like, hey, we're gonna do the thing that you want us to do, and you're telling me that Capcom didn't sit back, look at that, and be like, oh, yeah, no one wants Mega Man.
I don't think that was Mega Man at all. I think the controls were not Mega Man. I do not think that is what people wanted from Mega Man, and
it was the guy, I guess, is what I'm saying. So like, is it, hey, let's remake? I know we're just jumping all over the place, but like, hey, let's remake Metal Gear, but Kojima is not going to be part of it.
I think Metal Gear would be a great.
I do too. I would love to see Metal Gear 3 get remade, but like without Kojima, you think anyone like is going to give it the time of day? You know, like people boycott it just to do that. You know, so like that's the stuff where it's like I'm trying to think. Like you wouldn't go back and redo like God of War, but in today's style because you can't because it didn't have a story. So like, well, it did, but you know what I mean? Like, they could, but like, do you try like making Kratos like sympathetic in the first game? Doesn't play.
Work.
It ruins the game, right? No. So like, there are these things where like, how do you? Again, I keep saying how you navigate, but I guess it is just
kind of like
it's dependent.
Kind of like what Jeff was saying. It's very strategic, right? You have to pick the right franchise. You have to like understand the tone of the story, like how much story was in the original stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Like your example, it's like, and then, you know, what direction? What's the purpose? Is there a purpose for us to remake this, right? Is there a different vision that we have for it or whatever? Like you were saying, I know that, like a lot of the time, if a game's really old, maybe you were inhibited by technology, and now we can like fully realize a world or something that we were thinking of back in the day, and I think that's where you really maybe make some deviations. And, you know, we were more thinking of it like this, but we couldn't show X thing because of like hardware limitations or whatever. So
yeah, and if we bring it back to Resident Evil, what's the risk of
keeping us on track?
No, I'm being honest. What's the story? Save the princess.
Yeah, right.
Literally, that's the story. I know nothing about Ashley. I know nothing about Ada.
But you guys are partners.
President's daughter,
I literally know nothing about Leon. You have no backstory to any of the major players of this game. And that is one of my major takeaways of the game is as a newcomer to the franchise, I've only played Village. I've had an experience with what I believe was Resident Evil 1 on the original PlayStation where there was a giant alligator in the sewer. When I was being babysat and this older kid named Devin was playing it and I got really, really, really scared and I ran upstairs. So that is my experience with the Resident Evil franchise. So whenever we come into the story of Resident Evil 4 as a remake, it almost doesn't matter that I don't have any experience with Ada or Krauser or like, were they in the previous games? I don't know. I know that the T virus is a thing in Resident Evil and somehow it's not anywhere in this game. But it doesn't matter. Like, the story is literally save the princess. I go from one area, the first area, which is the village, to try and save the princess. It doesn't happen. I go to the second place, which is the castle, to try and save the princess. It doesn't happen. So I go to the third area to try and save the princess. And it kind of happens.
Yeah.
Like, spoiler. But that's the entire story of what I got. And like, I'm not trying to get away from the remake versus remaster discussion, but one of my things that I was let down by this game was the amount of character development and even the enemy, I don't want to say enemy design or the antagonist design, the bosses, but Louise is a major character in the first portion, maybe the first third of the game. I don't even really I didn't care. I didn't care about him. I didn't even know what he was until that moment. And I was like, oh, all right. Ada, what the hell are you doing here? Who are you? What is our relationship?
How can you survive in that dress and be totally fine and not take us with you? Just get us out and then we'll talk about it.
Right. Why doesn't Ashley have a gun? We're in a scenario where we're both gonna die. Hand her a pistol.
Yeah.
But I understand that for gameplay reasons. But I did think that this game lacked a little bit in the story. I realized it's when did this game first come out? 2001?
2005.
2005. I would have liked in the remake for them to give me a little bit more. And John, you were talking about how important these characters are to you. Me, newcomer, it didn't really hit with me. I kind of enjoyed the characters. I told you guys that Ashley was one of my favorite characters of the game, just because she was the only ray of sunshine. She was my cheerleader. I jumped over a ledge and caught her, and she was like, skills with her glossy lipstick and
with
shit.
a Z.
Yeah, it was
If
skills
you
with
put
a Z.
oh my gosh, unreal.
And
Love it.
but I also think that
It's
they
the
did.
cheese, man. I just
Yeah.
love. From
I
this
think
game.
they did something strategic here, though, with a completely earth tone gray world. Do you think it's like? Do you think they mistakenly dressed up the two female figures in the game in bright colors to pop? No, they dressed up Ashley in these bright colors, this plaid skirt with this makeup. Somehow she's never has a flake of dirt on her, and Ada's like this sex symbol because the rest of the game looks like an apocalypse. So they really.
Well, that's what I'm
pop.
saying. You're like running through mud and rain, and Ada walks in this like perfectly red sweater dress or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like she gets blown up and shot at, and there's not a speck of dirt on her. She's fine, always composed. I don't know. She's badass. I like Ada.
I just want to know more about her. And do I need to play the previous games? Is that the issue?
I mean, 2, I think would be like the thing, and it's just like like a lot of that stuff doesn't pay. Yeah, I think you do. I mean, is it worth it? No, so much. Like it's one of those like okay, like they tell you all they need to tell you. Like it might hit harder when it's like you were my mentor and you're a dick, but like whatever. Like it just kind of comes out of nowhere, right? And like that kind of stuff, which I didn't get that far whenever I played the first game with Krauser. But it was just like, oh yeah, hey, okay. And it's like, well, whatever. Like
when he first showed up, I'm like, who the hell is that guy?
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Like literally.
And like you're supposed to care.
Right. Yeah. I'm not a Resident Evil expert, which I think is like because I think there's a lot more lore than I'm either like remembering or like, and I don't know where all that stuff is, but I know there's like a lot more to it than like what you see in the game. Because Jeff brings up a good point. If you're like a newcomer,
Yeah.
you have no reason to like give a shit about.
4 was
any of
my
this
first
stuff.
like Resident Evil game
4.
ever, right? Because it was like at that time it was like this is the best game ever made,
Right,
So it's just
right.
like you have to play it,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is like there's so much hidden items and files and stuff throughout the island.
Yeah.
But like none of it matters because it's
No,
just like
it's
all
definitely-
about the people you're murking the entire game. So it's just like, oh, let's read this note about the family that is losing their minds and stuff. And like that's sad and it adds to the bleakness of the thing, but like that has no bearing on like, oh, this is why Leon's here or why he's motivated to do whatever. Or this is why the president is getting involved or
Right.
I agree with you 100%. Like it just doesn't. None of it matters. It's just like, hey, I just gotta get out of here. And like to some extent, that's fine. But like, I also feel like nobody's really trying to leave the island. You know what I mean? Like really, like no one's like really trying. Like if you're really trying, it's like okay, like go back to the boat and just try to get out that way. Or like at some point, like just like, hey, put Ashley on the boat, send her in west, and then like you stand at the dock with your if you really are willing to like risk your life and be like, as long as she's safe, I don't care. Which you just met the girl. I'm sorry. Like there's duty and then there's just like, what are you doing, buddy? Like I don't know. I like stand at the dock and shoot the guys as they're trying to go to their boat. Or here's the thing: sink all their boats and get away, or take all the fuel, or anything. Like they're like I don't know. It's just hey, the storm doesn't let us come down.
That's like a fly a bird to Mount Doom argument. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
no,
It's like-
exactly,
you know what I'm
sure.
saying?
Well, like,
It's like-
if it's such a big deal, how does Mikey come out of nowhere? Which,
I was
who is
just
Mikey?
about to say that.
Yeah, and he flies in and just decimates this place.
Yeah.
One dude just wrecks everything.
Right.
And only these supernatural things can bring him down. Cool. What if you brought 4 helicopters? I don't know. I'm pretty sure if he could get in there, why can't your exfil get in there? Like, it's so, I don't know.
I think that's what I was alluding to earlier, where the story just felt like a reason to get Leon to this really cool map of the village, to the next really cool map of the castle, to the next slightly less cooler map of the island. And I'm cool with that. The campiness was fun. The Save the Princess stuff was pretty fun. The story is definitely not the strong suit here. People say that they like Leon. That's fine. Like, whatever. He's kind of a funny, like, somewhat lovable doofus. Like, That's how I view him, even with all of his combat prowess or whatever. Like, he's got these funny one-liners. The merchant, I think, is great. Like, I don't know how he lost the "what are you buying," but for some reason he has "what are you selling." Like, I don't know why they decided to take. I can't remember which one they took away, but they took one of them away, and like I was like, "What are you doing?" But aside from like Leon and the merchant, Ashley was kind of cool. I just coming from Village and seeing how those bosses each had such an identity, a persona, a caricature. Probably don't want to go with that. But they had this just like aura. You understood who this enemy was. You understood their motives, their personality. That was so cool. Like, it's almost like this Metal Gear thing where each boss has this like just this style of fighting, this power, this. And then I go to what's his name, the short little Napoleon guy, and I'm like, again, I'm like, who the hell are you? Like, why do I care? Like, what? Okay, you got the princess. No, I need the princess. Like, that's it.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know. I just think that was the essence of the first game too, though, right? Like, I don't think it really ever was about the story. It was like revolutionary gameplay. It was about, honestly, that's like the core of it, right?
Yeah.
Just the gameplay. I don't know. I think they're, that's kind of the point, right?
100%. I think we just said a lot of negatives about an awesome game.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think like it recaptures what the most important part of it is, right? Like the gameplay of it. Like the shooting feels great, the parrying, the finding objects, things of that nature. Like that made the first game special in the first place. So I don't know. I forgive it for not having a great story because it was always like a super arcadey style game, right? Where it's like you go to the arcade. Like I don't know if you guys ever played like any of those old arcade games, like House of the Dead or something.
I have a note of. Are you kidding me? Please read my notes. Literally, I reference House of the Dead too.
Yeah,
where it's like you don't hit that headshot.
Yeah.
It feels so bad to miss that bullet.
Right.
You want it back. You instantly want to take that. Oh, you missed the next one? Oh, you feel bad. You missed the third one? You might as well restart the level.
Just give it up.
Exactly. And it's like, that's the same, feeling that's invoked in this game. And like, the story in House of the Dead is probably the worst story of all time. You know what I mean? There's like no story. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. That it kind of harkens back to that kind of era is how I feel. So
it's just like you have, and this is the last thing I'll say on it, but like you have Ashley.
Yeah.
You're back to literally where you start the game.
He really is not
go through the door. The car's most likely still there.
Yeah.
Right? Like the villagers running. Probably aren't taking the keys and like
They're
doing
scrapping
whatever.
It, dude. That's a lot of resources.
Maybe, but like worst case, just keep walking.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Yep.
Like you probably ran 1,000 miles around the castle and everything else. Like like just go leave. Just go home.
I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. It's definitely I don't know. I guess that's not where my focus is, which is weird because usually I'm like story first kind of guy.
I'm usually the gameplay guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't know. My expectations were like, okay, like the first one wasn't story driven. This one shouldn't.
It would be.
It shouldn't be either, but I can understand why it's not. Right.
Yeah. Like if you didn't have Ashley, I could see like, okay, well, obviously you can't leave, but like you're there. Like you could literally knock on the door. Like you're right where the whole game starts. Be like,
no, you're right. Right. You're right. 2005. We didn't think that far ahead, I guess.
Jeff, tell us why the game's so good.
I have a couple of things that I want to say before we close the topic.
So you weren't like big on this game, or?
No, I gave it a 90.
I give it a 91.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That was the most discouraging 90 I've ever heard in my entire life.
What are you talking about?
Like I just heard like why this game's terrible.
Yeah,
terrible.
No,
like,
I'm gonna let Jeff
frustrating.
go. But it was just that. Like I think the gameplay and the collect. I mean, I like collectathons and stuff too. So I'm gonna mark for that.
All right, sorry, Jeff.
No, you're fine.
What do we got?
I just have a couple more comments. A couple more comments as I look at 2 pages of notes. No, I think one of my favorite things about this was the idea of the map. And you guys know I'm a sucker for level design. I hark on From Software all the time. You guys brought up some Super Mario Odyssey one time at dinner. But no, I really love a well-designed level. I think there's a mastery to it that not a lot of developers have. And I think this one, going back, like, so far, it's a wonder how they pulled this off. And I think the remaster, or the remake, did a fantastic job of adding just a little bit here and there with some of, like, the merchant quests and stuff like that. However, I will say my completionist brain lost it on this game. And I'll tell you why. We were talking about that section where you have Ashley. Just turn your ass around and go back. I missed the memo. I missed the cue. I moved forward thinking moving forward loops around to the lake, unknowing that once you move forward, you cannot go back to that first section. So I did not fully collect the first section. And once I figured that out, all collections were off. I was like, screw it. I can't. If I'm not going to be able to come back and complete this first area on this playthrough, I'm not completing the second area, and I'm not completing the third area. I'm just going to play through the game. So that was a little bit of I don't know if I missed the signal, because whenever you complete area 2, the merchant very clearly says, are you sure you want to continue going through that gate? Yeah. I somehow maybe missed it on the first, well, quote unquote gate, but that really, like, I was saddened, deeply saddened, because I am the person. I was playing on hardcore, which I think is the way to fully enjoy this game. I would have been the person to go back and get as much ammo as I could, get as much money as I could, so I'm prepared for those coming fights. And I wasn't able to do that as soon as I passed that. And it did not feel good. It felt pretty bad. But aside from that, I thought the level design was on point.
Real quick on that too, like I think the instant gratification was done very, very well. So like it made you work for some things, but it wasn't like, okay, hey, shoot 6 medallions.
Right.
And if you bought the map, the medallions were on the thing, and you're like, okay, cool. And it's very easy to do. But I liked that versus necessarily like having to like search everywhere for them and things like that. And it's just getting this kind of frustrated thing. Like it does encourage you to go, because it's like, oh, I see this old gem here. It might not tell you exactly where it is, but it's close enough that it takes maybe a minute to find it, and then it's either I can get it right away, or I'm like, okay, I gotta remember that I have to come back with like a key or something.
I think that was
and it does
spot
really
on. It hit like the I Spy book itch. Like it tells you kind of where it's at. I gotta look around, see where it's hidden. I thought it was awesome. One of the things that like kind of really set this game off for me, I am a PlayStation gamer, I did not play this on PC, was the idea of the replayability. And if I did not have a game that I instantly had to go on to next, I could see myself playing this game on multiple playthroughs for the trophies. I am a trophy guy. I love the idea of a platinum. But for $60, listen to all these like goals you can have. You can have a knife and handgun only playthrough. You can have an under an 8-hour playthrough, a hardcore with an S rank playthrough, a no healing playthrough. You can complete the game without talking to the merchant playthrough. Like there is so much to dig your fingers into. What is it? Dig your teeth into? What's the phrase?
Talons?
What? Dive into? So much to dive into?
This game, like,
dig your
fins?
Claws.
Dig your fins
like,
into the water?
I just want to, it. And
Joni? What's her name?
Joni.
Don't get me
Play
started.
Joni, yeah.
God, she's listening out here. But whenever I complete this game, I instantly restart it on professional mode just to see.
Put the eye patch on. Put the suit coat on.
I instantly start on professional mode just to see how hard that first level was, because you were there for.
Yeah.
I tried the first level. I went into it with a broken knife. That was hell.
Yeah. I will say after beating the game, going, because I did start over. I did put on hardcore because I'm like, I got to see what now that I know it's going back. It's not that hard. Like once you get the feel for the game, but yeah,
I think hardcore was such an awesome way to play, because for almost every encounter, I was using all my tools that I had. There was even one fight where I had to kill 3 hordes of like smaller enemies with only my knife so that I didn't awaken these 2 other mobs that would just one-shot me. So that was like, it took me a while to figure out, but I was like, oh, I can just like 3 hordes of enemies. I was pairing, it's like, oh shit, oh, get down. Like I was flipping out. And then I finally did it. And then I was like, oh, like I can use this really cool environmental thing to get these 2 really deadly mobs to go over there and just chuck like giant grenades over there and like use like my magnum and my shotgun. And it like felt so amazing to outthink that encounter or complete that encounter in a different way than to just blast through it. It was just super duper rewarding. But yeah, 91 out of 100.
It's a good game.
It's a great game.
I liked it.
I did too. I was in 91.
Did you?
I think
you were at 91.
I was at 91.
Yeah.
I just think, again, we just see another example of this is, we live in the remake era, and they're getting very good at doing this.
Capcom.
Did you
Capturing
like
the
this
essence.
more than Dead Space?
No,
Really? Okay.
but
Interesting.
which is super surprising because I didn't even play the original Dead Space.
Yeah.
Dead Space just felt so good for some reason.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that, but I think this is probably a better game.
I actually enjoyed this more than Dead Space.
And you think Dead Space is a better game?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird, right? Like I think Dead
is
Space,
weird.
when you're looking at the movement and stuff on Dead Space, I think Dead Space did a better job making it feel a little bit more fluid and modern, and the weight and like
Because I feel like you're so clunky in Dead Space,
yeah, but it's a
which is the point because you're
I feel like you're clunky in Resident Evil, right? Because like there's some great animations of Resident Evil which we talked about,
yeah.
and I think that's really well done. But I still feel like there's like a hint of those tank controls. Like there's a hint of like, okay, I really only have kind of these like 4 directions, and I know that's not true, but like I still felt constrained in a way that like helped the game, and it gave you some really intense moments. But I felt like a lot of the time I was getting like caught on a wall because I just like my guy couldn't move the way I wanted to move. Be it the animation of like the locomotion that he was like trying to do, he got like stuck, or the people got stuck, or it was kind of like the same thing. Where with Dead Space, it felt like the guy was heavier, but also he was freer to kind of run around and do things. It's a bizarre. I hear you. I just feel like Dead Space was more successful in taking what was an older game and bringing it, and it's apples and oranges because Dead Space was what 5 years past.
Yeah.
Like it came out like 2015 or 2010 or something like that. So it's a little not apples to apples, but Dead Space felt like it did a better job modernizing it, even with like the sound design, which I know you touched on a little bit, Jeff, but like I think Dead Space, if you look at what they did with that and how they were changing all the different sound designs and things like that, they were doing some extra work and like I'd have to go back and listen to the original Resident Evil, which I didn't, but the way Resident Evil sounded reminded me of the original like a lot. Like whenever you like split a head open and stuff like that, like it sounded like they didn't do too. I'm sure they did plenty to it, but it sounded very similar, like almost outside of what. Like it should have sounded different. It should have sounded more like modern, high fidelity. I don't know. Like
I completely agree. And some of my issues with the sound design, like, why is Ashley mouth breathing on me? Like literally,
constant.
God, she's a heavy mouth breather, my dude. And I
can't help it, man.
I have a nice pair of headphones. Like if there's anything nice about my setup, it's my headphones. Literally, it's like it. And I hear this girl, no matter what she is doing, she's mouth breathing.
She just woke up from a nap.
Yes.
And she's just
like, why? And I think to your point with like some of the headshots, like, yes, it does feel good. Some of the guns feel nice, but I think that it was a little bit lackluster in that it maybe minus the shotgun. The shotgun felt great.
Yes.
The shotgun
so good.
Yeah.
But
that's my favorite shotgun of all games.
I remember you saying that.
Really?
Yeah. The what was it? The riot gun?
Yeah. The final one.
Sorry, I'm racking my brain now for every game I've ever played.
Half-Life 1 was pretty good too.
That shotgun.
Half-Life 2.
Jeez.
Can I hit you guys with some numbers?
Yeah.
Well, the one thing I just want to defend
sorry.
Resident Evil real quick compared to Dead Space, like the
Go
boss
for it.
fights so much better in Resident Evil. Like Dead
Really?
Space, yeah, I think so because first of all, Dead Space last boss fight was terrible.
I 1000% agree with you.
And then
the last boss fight in Resident Evil was sick.
I don't know, like the other boss fights were kind of like, I don't know, like the one guy who kind of respawns limbs and stuff was kind of like, I guess a mini boss sort of, but like cool the first time. Cool how you defeat him in the cryo chamber, but very repetitive. Like you shoot his legs out, you run away.
And Resident Evil did a better job of that.
Yeah.
Like with some of them, like they were like scary.
The
where, like,
assassin
you're trying to
one.
understand.
Right.
Yeah.
I actually
That's
didn't
what I'm
enjoy
saying.
the assassin encounter that much, but I did enjoy the regenerators. Those.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was talking about the regen, not the one that you like try to freeze.
Yeah. The regenerators I thought were minus the part where you had to find the wrench and there was like 4 wrenches in the environment that you couldn't pick up, and there was a wrench in a stupid area. The regenerators were such a fun enemy for me, and there was that one room where you had to fight 3 of them.
Yeah.
If I missed one shot, I was at the point where if I missed one shot, I did not complete that level. So it took me, 5, 6, 7 tries on that. Very fun. And I think your point on the boss fights, really spot on. I think a lot of the boss fights were fun. Maybe the only one I did not enjoy was the Ramon boss fight because I felt like it just went on for too long. His opening was very short I don't know if that was a hardcore difference or anything like that. But that fight went on very long for me.
See, I felt like a lot of those I killed them, but I just, you're just like just drilling them with bullets, and it like wasn't like, I don't know, like it was like, shoot the orange thingy, and like Dead Space was exactly the same. I don't think Dead Space had great boss fights either. I think maybe even like the environments, like I think both did a really good job. I think I liked Resident Evil's map more and knowing where all of the cool stuff is. But I really like Dead Space where it's like you can just visit wherever you want and find, like explore the base and
like a
stuff.
hub,
It's again not apples to apples. It just felt a little bit more. Maybe this is a testament to like the design, but it felt like Dead Space did more with like the way it was laid out and how you interacted with it and stuff. And Resident Evil, like they might have flipped maps and stuff, and I never finished Resident Evil, so maybe I'm just ignorant of that. But it felt like Resident Evil was very much like here you go, here's your like playground, and it's kind of the same thing with like chapter done, and then like move on to the next one. And I personally don't like that kind of stuff.
Very arcadey style, right?
Which is funny because I'm pretty sure when we were reviewing Dead Space, I said how I would have liked.
Yeah, you
in
literally
Dead
said the
Space.
opposite.
I know.
Like the tram, because that's how Dead Space did it originally with the tram and
but
what you were talking about.
Sitting back and getting that experience with Resident Evil, I think I was wrong. I think that the way they did Dead Space is like, oh, that's actually cool. Like,
and I
cooler that
100%
they
agree
went
with
through
you.
it.
I think Dead Space did a better job of like completely rethinking the map, right? But for me personally, I like the variety that Resident Evil has because Dead Space is the whole game's the ship. And you get used to the corridors, and it's very similar. And they do a fantastic job with that. But I do like the little bit of variety you get where you have the 3 different locations. And does it make sense? No. But it's just very different. And I don't know. It kind of is refreshing.
But Dead Space is more believable. I mean, now we're splitting hairs, but Dead Space is more believable in like, well, now you gotta go fix the engine because you ain't getting like you're
100%. Yeah. If we're talking story,
like,
like Isaac was trying to get the fuck off that ship,
like,
man.
He's doing everything he can.
If we switched characters, Isaac would have been
Leon's
off the
just
island.
dragging his feet. He's like, well,
Yeah,
this is a kind of a nice
trying to show
asshole.
off, man.
Yeah.
The dude just wants to kill everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I think. But
I think to Tyler's point, it is a little bit apples to oranges, even without me playing the Dead Space remake, just because I was talking about how many different ways there are to play this game. Like, and I know Nate was talking about doing a playthrough where you just run away from everything and only kill what you absolutely have to. I think there is a fun aspect to that familiar chapter, that map of saying, I know that this enemy is going to be here. I'm going to headshot this enemy. I'm going to stealth kill this enemy. I'm going to run through these 4 to this point. I'm going to jump up on this house, and that's my strategy. And I think there is a fun replayability to that of figuring out like how can I best get through this level. And I also think there's a fun part of like coming up on a level and saying, oh, I'm going to take out my rifle and see how many like headshots I can get before I even start the encounter.
It's weird because like, is the combat, and maybe this is definitely a personal thing, but like, was the combat good enough for me to be like, yeah, I want to play through like the village level again, but this time I'm only going to use my knife. And like, if the knife combat was like good, then I could see it. But it was just like, I'm just going to stand here and go like, nah, and just keep like jabbing at it, right? Where like what you're describing is like, if I'm playing, and again, apples to oranges, if I'm playing like Arkham City or Splinter Cell, where it's like, I'm going to take all these guys out, but I'm going to do it all stealthily. I'm going to do here. Like, I feel like that combat is like fun enough that like I'm wanting to do that. And maybe it's, again, very subjective, but I didn't know if like Resident Evil, I think part of Resident Evil's combat charm is like you're just being overwhelmed trying to run and stay and like fight and do that stuff.
And the resources is so crucial to that too. Like the games you're describing, you're like, I mean, there's some resource aspects to it, but like in Arkham, it's like you just beat the shit out of like groups.
Well, right,
of people,
but if you put it on hardcore, it's like, okay, I have to like, cause
you have to be a little more strategic. But like in Resident Evil, it's like, okay, I can't waste my ammunition on this guy because I know what's ahead. I don't know. To me, seems a little more tactical.
Well, it depends on what you're trying to do.
Sure,
Again, like it's like with Batman, it'd be like, all right, I'm going to go here, disable everyone's guns. I'm going to do this. I'm going to set this trap, this. And then you're like, you just drop down and like punch a dude. And then everyone else just drops because they all like attack you and get frozen and do everything. And it's like you set like all the dominoes up and then just wait for that to fall.
Kind of Horizon-esque too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That style,
exactly. Like you set all the traps and then you watch it go. I can wrap my head around that. With Resident Evil, it's like, yeah, if you're trying to only play with like guns and knives, you can brute force your way through it. I guess me personally, I don't know if I enjoyed the game enough to be like, I want to do like, because at the end of the game, you're like exhausted, right? Like mentally, like you're just drained because like, well, especially playing, I can't even imagine playing hardcore where it's just like, oh, we finally got out of here. And it's like, and now I'm going to do it all over again, baby. It's the same thing with like Dead Space where it's like you finally get off the station and then like restart. And that's good, like, right? If you want to jump right back in, by all means. But it's just like, I didn't find the combat so rewarding that I want to go through it all again, I think. Or I didn't know if there's enough options available. Because at the end of the day, you got to dome them. It's not like you can like get like loosey-goosey where it's like, well, I'm going to shoot this guy in the arm and he'll hit his axe in the other guy or something. You know, like it's not that detailed. I don't know.
I think for me, and that's why I say playing on hardcore, I think is the default way to play is I had those shout out loud moments that I have when defeating like a Soulsborne boss, like whenever defeating Melania or something like that. Whenever I defeated those 3 regenerators, I like screamed in my house, like, yeah, like, and because I was so starved of resources, I didn't have anything. If I missed a rifle shot, my pistol couldn't do anything against them in hardcore. My Magnum might be able to take out one of their heads. And again, I've only played on hardcore, so I don't know how they respawn on, standard difficulty, but in hardcore, you take out 3 vitals, they regenerate fully, and then you have to take out their head. And I'm assuming that's the same on standard?
Not from the tubes. So the 3 that were in cryo freeze, they did not do their heads, I don't think.
I think that's correct.
And like, did you have to fight all 3 at the same time?
No, you could go bag by bag.
Yeah, okay, all right.
But at that point, I think I had enough rifle ammo to miss twice, and I think I had 1 Magnum shell, like, for, like, the oh shit moment. And it took me 5 or 6 attempts to finally beat that. And it was rewarding enough for me to have that, like, yeah, best. Like that super surge of adrenaline and endorphins and whatever, like all the drugs in your brain that go off whenever you have sex. Like that's what I was feeling whenever I killed those things.
Okay.
The pop off, man.
But that's why I think like this game for some people, the replayability is there. I think it is completely subjective. I don't think it's for everyone. But there are the people that play this game once every year. There are the people that will go right into professional mode and say, yeah, I want to do that again. And I think what made me want to go back into it again was I don't like horror. I don't like being scared. It is probably one of the least favorite things that I enjoy. And for a lot of the horror games, I need to have Dwayne come over and sit next to me because I'm a little baby and literally like, hey Jeff, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, Dwayne, I'm okay. Actually, I'm not okay. Can you take the controller and play for a little bit? And I'm gonna like look at the corner of the screen. Like that happens like in certain horror games. This was dialed down from Village by quite a bit, I thought. But having beaten the game and knowing where some of the jump scares come out, I felt confident enough to be like, I can take this game on in a much better fashion than I did the first time. I'm going to be a professional. I'm going to absolutely rock this. I know what this enemy does. I know that he's in that bag. And that fear kind of melted away and allowed me to, in my head, if I was playing this again, to enjoy it at a different level.
Yeah.
Again, I'm like you. I'm not playing it again. I played it once through, had a phenomenal time with it, but I can see why other players would be going right back to it.
And to be fair, that's how I was with Dead Space, where like I told you, like that was the first game that I played right away. I think the key difference there, though, is everything you had in Dead Space you kept.
Dead Space 2?
Yeah. So I was like, oh, well, I'm going to just murk these. Oh, you scared me the first time? Well,
The revenge
take
tour.
this flamethrower in the face.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. So I could see that. So the real question is, if you're going to, let's say there's a world where, Jeff, you go back and you replay it. Are you going to spend the $3.99 and just buy a ticket and unlock high tier weapons right off the bat?
No.
Because apparently you can do that. Did you hear that?
No.
Yeah, they added a little DLC.
Wow.
So you know those tickets that you can
win.
you can buy from the
Yeah.
you can just
Buy with real money
tickets now. Yeah.
They're like 30 of the spinels or spinels or whatever.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Funny, and I mean this is all we could get into that, but it's like funny that wasn't in for reviews. You know, let's wait.
A little cheeky.
Let's get that that 94 or 90
I
whatever
never
it is.
even got the rocket launcher. I never had the money for it.
I never wanted to buy it. I'm like, Ada's gonna give it to me when I need it. That's all I do. I never beat the game, but I knew that she'll come through. Like it's not. That's the only, because I've seen that scene a million times over and everything, and like that's pretty iconic. So it's like, I'll get this. Like it's okay.
Hilarious.
I have my Magnum. Dude, standard is not that bad, especially whenever I was like, I'm going to make every shot to count, and I'm just going to put on that gold briefcase, right? Like you get all the money or whatever, and it's just like, cool.
Yeah, I wish I played on hardcore actually, because I think you lose quite a bit.
What's the gold briefcase?
You get a gold briefcase, and it just drops money instead of ammo.
How do you get this gold briefcase?
I don't know. Is it
What do you
standard
mean
or is
you
it
don't
easy?
know?
Do you play on easy?
I put it on standard.
Do you play on standard?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
do you buy it from the merchant?
No, you have two. You start off with two briefcases. One's a silver and one's a gold. The silver drops ammo, and then the gold one drops money. So every like thing we break, instead of ammo being there,
What?
it's just gold.
Yeah.
So like I had like all
You were
my
loaded.
guns maxed
Are you
out.
kidding me?
Yeah,
it was
you're
I
rich.
was sweating at the end.
Yeah.
Right.
I was down to 3 guns. I had to sell guns.
Yeah, I just
Wow.
didn't need them. I was like,
See, to me,
I want the
that's,
space.
that's like, I don't know.
Well, I was
That's
down
the
to 4.
experience you want, right?
I did.
Theoretically.
I
don't
wonder
know.
if you get that in hardcore.
I bet you do, and I just didn't see it. The one thing that I think,
Interesting.
actually, if I could go back, the one thing that I would probably disable was very early on at that first shooting range. I got a charm that goes on your briefcase that doubles the amount of healing from green herbs.
Yeah.
I can imagine that being the only reason I got through hardcore the way I did.
If
And
it's in the like that's that's valuable, right? Like that's the whole
I
point.
feel-
Like you took the time, you did it, you should be rewarded for that.
Right, but what if I gotten like another high value one that didn't double my healing, and I didn't have those green herbs? I probably would have been playing through a lot of sections over again more than I was. But again, if you are new, even if you're new to this series, I do recommend playing on hardcore. It's not that bad. Just like you guys said, you played on standard, it wasn't that bad. You jumped right into hardcore. Once you get used to it, that's just the game. And I think part of the appeal to this is the starvation of resources and managing that, and it adds to the suspense. Like we were talking about earlier, you miss a shot, man, does that shot feel bad? You miss a rifle shot. Oh,
Devastating.
you miss a rifle shot on a non-moving target twice because they're like leaning. Holy,
Yeah.
you're restarting.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I have some numbers for you guys.
All right.
Yeah, let's see the numbers. Here are the numbers.
As of today, April 8th, it has surpassed 4 million copies sold. Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
It is the second fastest selling Resident Evil, only behind Resident Evil 6, which I thought was really weird.
That is strange.
I hated 6. And I know that I said I haven't played a lot of Resident Evil games. I played 6 for like a hot minute, and it felt like Call of Duty, if I remember.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the hype around it. Was that were they trying to pull in zombies again?
Yeah, it was like hordes.
Wasn't 5 though still Las Plagas?
I don't remember.
And this was actually back in GameStop days. I'm fairly certain that 5 was still within like the 4 mythos or whatever, and 6 was more of like quote unquote return to form. Oh, it's zombies again. It's Umbrella. It's.
See,
keep in mind. I know that the 6 always looked like a giraffe getting a blowjob,
What?
like the logo. Yeah, you'll never see the logo the same again. So we'll look up Resident Evil. Actually, go ahead. Keep giving the numbers. I'm gonna look up the logo and I'll show you.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
As of the end of 2022, the Resident Evil series has sold 135 million units. I thought that was pretty impressive.
It's pretty big, yeah.
Last statistic I have. As of April 3rd, Capcom share price hit an all-time high of $36.42 a share. That's an all-time high. 10 years ago, it was $2.92 a share.
See, here's the giraffe head and his dick skin.
Don't.
You don't see it?
I see it.
You see it?
I want to unsee
giraffe head.
Oh, God.
And there's
Yeah, I
this-
see it a
there's
lot.
this- yeah, and someone's just kind of bending down, giving him a little.
Now I see it a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's
Oh,
Resident
that
Evil
ruined
6.
my life.
Yep. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
That's all I got.
Oh, okay.
Wow, the share price.
I would
That's-
like to end on the giraffe blowjob, actually.
Yeah. Do you think so? Capcom has what? Street Fighter coming out.
Yeah.
They're never doing Mega Man again. What else? What else is in Capcom's thing?
Monster Hunter is probably their
Monster
best-selling
Hunter, yeah.
franchise, I would imagine. I can't imagine something beating that out. I would love to see a Beautiful Joe remake. I just think that would be so fun. They have the Advanced Wars games, I believe, under them.
Still? Because that new one's
thing.
coming out soon.
I think that's them. I think they have
I
Ace
thought that was made by
Attorney.
Nintendo.
I think they have Ace Attorney.
So they got some stuff.
Oh, they have Dragon's Dogma, which is very critically acclaimed, not necessarily commercially successful. They have, what was that space shooter with like the exploding bugs?
EDF.
Fine, make me check
Earth
my
Defense
notes.
Force?
No.
Space shooter.
Lost Planet. I don't know if you remember Lost Planet.
I do remember Lost Planet.
I
yeah.
thought Lost Planet was pretty fun. I think they need to fix Devil May Cry. I played the most recent Devil May Cry. God, that game was awful.
You didn't like 5?
No.
Oh.
No.
So DMC is my favorite Devil May Cry.
I haven't played it, but I have a
DMC.
feeling I would.
I loved it. And I played 5, and I was like, I love DMC. Am I just not enjoying it? Because I bounced off of 5 pretty quickly. And I went back to DMC and like, no, this is.
Here's the thing: DMC or Devil May Cry 5 is almost the complete opposite of Resident Evil, where I feel like the characters are bomb in Devil May Cry 5. I love the characters.
Yeah.
Holy crap. I don't know what they did with the atmosphere or like the gameplay. I know people like the gameplay. The gameplay, I think, needs really fixed. They're trying to do too many things at once with the 3 characters that you switch between. But my God, like the environments, the levels suck in Devil May Cry 5. Really bad. And I think about how good Devil May Cry 3 was. I'm like, come on, guys. Come on, Capcom. Please. I don't know. It's my thing.
And I'm sticking to it. What's that from? I don't know.
I don't know. Probably something that was before I was born.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So, are we giving it a rating? Giving it a
you said 91.
I said 91. What did we give
I said
Dead
91
Space?
too.
91.
90?
I think we gave Dead Space like a 94.
Oh.
No way. We did not give Dead Space a 94.
Let me check it out.
I feel good about a 91. I thought it was really
Oh,
solid.
yeah? You feel good about the score you gave it?
Yeah, I know. I feel like it's really great about the score that I came up with.
Yeah, okay. I could move up on
What'd
that
you give TMNT?
Not high.
No, I want to know what John gave TMNT.
Oh, way higher than you guys. You guys are out of your mind.
Yeah.
No.
But that's because I'm nostalgic about it. I realized it was straight nostalgia. I just finished indoor soccer and I'm playing TMNT. Like, I get it, dude. And I have a slice of pizza in hand.
I guarantee you, we probably played indoor soccer at the same arena.
John gave it an 82.
Jesus.
Dude, that game was fun. It did exactly what it set out to do.
All right, let's see.
And it was on Game Pass. It was great. It was whatever. I enjoyed it.
Whatever.
Dead Space, we hit it. Dead Space, we got an 86.
Yeah, I was gonna say we did not. 95.
I'm sorry, I was thinking. So Hi-Fi Rush, we gave it 91.
Yeah, such a good game. Yeah. Holy shit.
Hogwarts Legacy, 84.
Can I ask you guys a question? What's your game of the year so far? Like, just, it doesn't have to be final answer, just off the cuff.
Yeah.
Is it Resident Evil Remake?
No.
Hi-Fi Rush is
yeah,
my answer.
it would be, for me, it'd be between Dredge and Hi-Fi Rush.
Oh, I'm so glad you said Dredge.
Dredge is, and the problem I have with Dredge isn't anywhere near as high on Hi-Fi Rush. It's just I kept thinking about Dredge when I'm not playing it. Yeah. I don't think it sticks the landing, and I think that's the thing that killed me is I expected it to be more, and then it just kind of like ends. Mm-hmm. So you get what you put into it and stuff like that, but like I think I was playing it wrong, but that's not my fault. You know what I mean? No.
Okay.
No, I was playing it wrong, and I was taking it slow, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna kind of like this is like a slow kind of build up, and then you quickly realize that like the world isn't as big and full of secrets and everything as you maybe think. And I was exploring and maybe not getting as rewarded, and I was after I got done saying that this is maybe my game of the year, but I wasn't getting it. Like when I think of Dredge, I put it on the same level as your Neon White or your Tunic or just something that's just like, oh, this is like an indie thing that like is really, really cool. But I think Tunic was like, I felt smart playing it. I felt clever playing it. In Dredge, you don't get that. Dredge is more of just like, look, my cat got sick, right? Like, and like, I was spending a lot of time with him. I was playing Dredge on my like Steam Deck. It was just like,
perfect. I thought you meant in the game.
No. Like my cat, like Merlin got like really, like we took him to the vet. Like it was like serious, and it was one of those like I was sitting there, kind of just holding him in my lap, playing on my Steam Deck and stuff, and it was just like kind of that perfect experience. Ran really great on Steam Deck. So it was like almost like a comfort game. And then when I got to where I was like, oh, okay, like now let's move on to the next portion of it. It was like, oh, there is nothing else. And then I felt bad about it, and I was like, no, now I'm lesser because I think I had it on as 90, and then what I do is I'll like, okay, how am I feeling as I'm playing it, and after each session I'll kind of like adjust it. So I started at 90, and I think I forget where I went down to, but I was like maybe like 84 or something like that. Yeah.
John, League of Legends.
What
is that your game of the year? League of Legends.
No, Hi-Fi Rush.
Hi-Fi Rush?
It's game of the year. League of Legends, what? Yeah. League of Legends will never be my game of the year, dude.
I still want to know where Metroid Prime is. Like, it's not.
We need a Metroid fan, dude.
Yeah.
Someone needs to tell me why. I told you exactly what was going to happen, too.
I know you did.
Did you both play it?
I didn't play. It's only Switch, right?
Do you have a copy?
Yeah, I played it. Yeah.
Are you a big Metroid guy?
No. I love Blasphemous, though.
We need a Metroid dude to tell us why it's the best game of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Diablo 4 is coming out this year. I'll be shocked if that's not my game of the year.
Ahead of Hades 2?
Is that this year?
I don't think that's this year.
It's this year.
I know it's supposed to be this year.
No, it's this year.
You want to bet?
Yeah.
Ooh.
When does it come out? We have a release
Like
date
the
yet?
summer.
In the summer?
Yeah.
No
Summer,
way.
you know,
No
fall.
way.
We didn't even see like gameplay. No way.
No way.
No
Does
way.
not come out
All right,
this year.
hold on.
It's just,
You looked up giraffe blowjob.
yeah.
God.
Does it not though?
What?
It
It does.
Oh no, it
Dude,
does. It's just
I
weird.
because I was at Ross Park at GameStop when 6 was coming out. So we have like I remember very clearly like this
Life
giant
size, yeah.
poster, giraffe like real size.
That's unfortunate, man.
Yeah.
No one really proofread that.
Nope. It's funny. I don't know. So is one other thing about Resident Evil while you're looking that up is Wesker in 4? Like how they end 4?
Yeah.
Like that's how 4 originally ended. Is like
Correct.
he got it and like
Yeah.
you saw that. Okay,
Yeah.
that was the coolest part
See,
of the game.
I didn't remember like this is what I was saying. Like I didn't remember half the shit.
I
that
knew
happened.
enough about him that I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's the main bad guy. or
Right.
whatever. So like that was interesting to me because it's like, oh, this whole game is setting something even more crazy up. and
Right.
getting back to kind of like the zombies and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that is. yeah.
I don't even know why Ada wanted the orange stuff.
Because it had the
I know. It's
Lost
like,
Plagueis
but
in it.
yeah, but who's she taking it to?
Wesker.
Secret agency? Oh.
She was hired by Wesker to get it.
Okay.
And then she was like, oh, you're going to kill billions of people? Also, as Wesker, why is he brag? Yeah, no, I'm gonna kill billions of people.
That's a flex.
And she's like, maybe I don't give this to you.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Think
okay.
twice.
So 5 days ago, sorry.
So funny.
5 days ago, Supergiant Games has stated on their blog that Hades 2 is going to be available in early access sometime in 2023.
I'm sorry. So you're talking like early access. So they are doing early access.
I think if it's early access, I think it's going to release this year. I don't count an early access as a release, by the way.
Do you
Because I
play-
don't play early access or beta.
Okay, well, that was my question.
No,
is-
I don't mess
Beta,
around
I
with
agree
that.
with you. Early access is a tough
No,
thing,
I don't.
man.
I don't mess around with that.
Oh, that's a tough. That's a tough thing. I don't know. Because like I think Backpack Hero could be game of the year, but it's early access. Backpack Hero is fantastic.
You keep talking about
It's
it.
so good.
Keep loving
Dude,
it.
if you like the Resident Evil Backpack organization,
Yeah.
Oh, it's so
like
yeah.
there's a game dedicated to it.
Tarkov.
Ugh.
Now you're getting a sick taste in your mouth.
Now
Interesting.
Now I feel queasy.
Yeah. How's that
Dude,
backpack now?
I would play 4 hours of League over 1 hour of Tarkov.
Tarkov
I
is
think.
so bad. That is not a good
I don't think
game.
it's bad. I just don't think it's for me.
I respect the heck out of it, but man, I
don't.
can't think of a game that
you think
I
it's a
hate more
bad
than
game?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't think it's good at all. Why would I have to go into a game 3 times to be able to play the actual game and then lose it all and then have to go into 3 fake games again?
It's the risk. The risk of it.
It's not fun. Not.
So
Wait, this is coming from a Dark Souls player?
Yeah, but Dark Souls
a
isn't
good
making
point.
Dark Souls.
I know.
It's not a good point. Dark
great
Souls
point.
isn't making you play a fake version of itself.
It's not
to get
fake. It's
to get
loot
to the
collecting.
actual.
It's loot collecting.
That's my.
if
yeah.
if Dark Souls put weapon durability in, would that change your perspective? of
Hell
Dark
yeah,
Souls?
that'd be garbage.
Yeah. That's
Durability is the worst.
Durability is the worst game mechanic ever.
Like,
Absolutely.
look, here's the thing. Tarkov is designed to be the most realistic version of all of that shit.
So what?
And that's like the type of player the hyper realistic.
Okay, but why do you have to lose all your stuff from 3 fake games? To
It's
be
not
realistic?
a fake game.
It is a
It's-
fake
it is-
game.
it
You
is
go into
loot collecting.
You go into 3 loot collecting maps.
Yeah.
To get some stuff to be able to play 1 real match. You lose that match. You have to go back and play 3 fake games.
People love the stakes. The stakes of it are that high.
I just go around other people killing each other and just pick the scraps.
It's like
that they
why
leave
some people
behind.
like playing
That's what I
games
do.
where it's like if you die, you have to restart the whole game. Like Divinity or something. Like that sounds terrible to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But
here's
some
the
people
thing.
love that because everything's on the line.
In those risks, when you're playing through the game, there's the game. You're not playing a fake version of it.
It's the same game. You're playing the same
You're playing
game. You're
against
just playing a
bots.
different character. No, you're not.
No, you're playing against people.
There's always bots in the game.
No.
Yes, there is. What are you talking about? There's
I
always scavengers.
I can't confirm that. Yeah.
Listen.
The difference.
the game is not changed. You're
If
going to the
I-
same maps, the same game.
If
You're
I-
just playing a different role.
Listen, I played this game for 2 weeks, and if I don't even understand this portion of the game, you know you have a bad game.
No, it's not bad. It's very niche. It's super niche.
What's going to happen is somebody will arcadeify it and make it better.
Well,
They
that's
will
the new
Fortnite
game
it.
Nate's been playing. Like it's
No,
like Tarkov, but
even
it's like
that is
space.
not, and that's close. But even that is not like to the extent that it needs to be.
It doesn't need to be. It's very specific. Like, look, I don't like it either. Okay, I'm not defending like I love this game, but I'm just saying like people who want that experience love the game because it's a very particular experience.
You have to play 3 games of League of Legends
oh my!
to get 6 items.
No, it's
play
not the
one
same
ranked
thing.
game.
It's not the same thing at all. That's not the same thing at all. League of Legends is a competitive game.
And if you lose the game, then you lose your rank completely.
Dude, when
just
you are
start
literally
over.
about to get demoted and you're playing that game, you're sweating your ass off, dude.
Yeah, it sounds great.
It
You're really
sounds
selling this.
terrible. And it's awful, but the stakes are high. I'm not saying I like it. Look, I'm telling you I don't like the game. I just don't think it's fair to say it's a bad game.
I know. I believe you. I am being biased towards this game.
I don't think it's a great
terrible.
game.
I
I was gonna say no one here likes it, but you're defending it.
I just
Well,
don't.
I always could. You gotta.
Yeah, you gotta
stick
play
up.
devil's advocate. I get that.
Dude, you
I
have
have,
to.
I've never been more bored playing a game in my life. That's the truth of it, and
I
that's
thought the
just
concept was
subjective.
awesome.
Subjective.
But then I was like, wow, this is awful. There's like 100,000 inputs you can do.
I sat there and Nate's like, "Isn't this so great?" I'm like, "No,
No.
why are we doing this?"
I would so much just put me in a game of COD, team deathmatch, run around.
I knew I was in
Nothing on
the
the line.
wrong game the moment it was like, all right, into crouch, you have to pick your crouch height. And I was like, oh, I can't get a refund on this. My money's tied up in Ukraine now.
I remember he was telling me, he was like, "Look how realistic this this lean is with the gun. Like,
Yeah.
your bullet's gonna go the right way." Like, I'm like, I don't want that.
Well, here's the thing. No game, like, I don't mind leaning. I get leaning. But, like, no game makes...
Gerard doesn't.
Well, Gerard hates leaning. But, like,
funniest
Rainbow
shit.
feels too good. So any other game that has lean in it that doesn't feel like Rainbow,
Rainbow Six
it's bad.
is really good.
yeah.
The gunplay in that game feels so nice, just clean, crispy.
Yeah. And it has great controller support.
Yeah. Wow, what a good game. Every time we talk about it, I want to play it again, and then am reminded I have to go through Ubisoft, and it makes me want to like.
If I could,
never play
if I could, we're 3 hours in, but if I could take the stick acceleration or if I could take the exact feel of that and apply it to every first person game ever, I would.
No, it wouldn't work.
Okay,
That
well,
wouldn't
that's what I would do.
No, it wouldn't work. Because the game speeds are totally
Yeah,
different.
you're right. You're
no,
right.
it
I'm just
would
saying
be
it
terrible.
it feels how it should. Not. I've never
For
connected
that
on-
game.
Well, I guess maybe we'll
Because it's
see.
so slow and
Methodical.
methodical. Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, we'll talk about John Wick later.
Yeah, that was a lengthy one. I got carried away with League.
No,
It's passion, dude. It's pure
I know.
passion came out today.
Your passion washes over me, and I don't know if I want to dig holes or play League, but I'm gonna pick one.
It was like Resident Evil 6 cover poster levels of passion today.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
tell.
Good talk.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, Jeff. We appreciate it.
Hey, twitch.tv/whatkilledjeff. Just started playing Sekiro.
Ooh, I didn't know what the
only-
new game was. Yeah.
The only From Software game I've ever fallen off of. Going to give it a second try. A couple other announcements. Demon Slayer Season 3 comes out Sunday, which is tomorrow, April 9th. If you're a fan, tune in. I can't help but continue to plug the webcomic Kill 6 Billion Demons. It is phenomenal. New comics come out weekly, completely free. Kill 6 Billion Demons. Jeff out.
When are we playing D&D again?
Thursday.
Okay, so I thought we were taking 2 weeks off
If you
for some
haven't done the poll, do the poll.
reason.
I
There's a
did the poll. Yeah.
Where, on Discord?
Discord.
Oh, all right.
It's 5-minute poll.
You opened up the anime door, so I'm just gonna ask you this real quick. Do you watch Vinland Saga? Have you ever seen that?
No. Good. Crunchyroll.
Probably.
I can do
So fucking good.
all right. I need to watch Monster.
Yeah.
I got into One Piece, so it's gonna be a while.
Goodbye.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I'll see you in 5 years.
That's the one with the straw hat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plural. Straw hats.
He wears multiple hats.
No, but it's the Straw Hat crew. Straw Hat Pirates. I never read it.
Okay.
I don't know, dude. All right. With that being said, thanks for coming on, Jeff. You can find us at couchcompany.games. Everything's there. And speaking of Jeff being on, got to put up the second round of the best fast food fries.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about.
It's Arby's versus McDonald's, which is what we thought it was going to be.
I told you that.
We thought it was going to be that.
I had McDonald's fries last night. McDonald's is better than Arby's.
Well, did you have Arby's last night?
No.
A little biased, but all right.
We'll see what
So
the,
yeah,
we'll see
check
what
us
the
out.
listeners say.
Couchcompany.games. Check us out on Twitter at CouchGoGames, and we'll be here same time, same place next week.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on the couch. Peace.